The most powerful manifestors don't talk about what they're creating. They don't announce their miracles before they arrive. They move in silence, and money, love, and opportunities follow them effortlessly. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "The invisible forces are working for you when you hold your peace. And that is why the spiritually wealthy keep certain things hidden. Not from fear, but from power." Today, I will reveal the 7 things the spiritually wealthy never share while manifesting. Because they know the moment they speak too soon, the energy begins to leak. Beloved, there is a reason why the spiritually wealthy do not announce what they are manifesting. It is not fear, it is wisdom. They understand a sacred truth, that every dream, before it blooms, must grow unseen. It must be nourished in silence, guarded by faith, and protected from the noise of the world. You see, every desire is a seed. When you plant a seed in the ground, you do not dig it up each day to show it to others. You do not rush the soil or expose it to the wind. You trust the process of darkness, of quiet, of unseen growth. And manifestation works the same way. When you speak of your dreams too soon, you invite the world's opinions into your soil. Are you sure? That's impossible. Every silent doubt from another heart becomes a shadow over your field. And a shadow can block your light if you let it. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "The invisible forces are working for you when you hold your peace." That means silence is not weakness. It is spiritual strategy. Because the moment you speak of your desire prematurely, you begin to hand it over to the collective vibration of others. And not everyone will protect what you are planting. The spiritually wealthy know this. That is why they don't announce. They don't explain. They don't prove. They simply become. They water their dreams with prayer, not conversation. They nurture their goals with gratitude, not gossip. They keep their manifestations sealed in faith until heaven makes them visible. Beloved, I want you to hear this truth. Deeply, your desire is not a wish. It is a prophecy. When you receive an idea, a vision, an urge, a dream, it is not fantasy. It is divine communication. The idea is heaven's way of saying, "This already exists in the spiritual realm. Now prepare for it." And your preparation is silence. Because silence says, "I trust the unseen." You do not tell the world what God whispered to you in secret. You do not expose what the divine asked you to carry in faith. Because the moment you speak it to those who do not understand the law, you invite confusion to interpret your miracle. And confusion delays creation. The spiritually wealthy are not secretive out of pride. They are secretive out of alignment. They know that manifestation is not about impressing people. It is about obeying principles. They know that energy leaks through explanation. That faith shrinks under scrutiny. That power fades when handled by too many hands. So they guard their dreams as holy treasures. They keep their intentions between themselves and divine mind. They walk quietly with purpose. And the world, one day, sees the result and calls it steady success. But heaven calls it steady faith. Say softly now, "My dreams are safe in silence." Again. My dreams are safe in silence. Every time you speak those words, you seal your energy. You become the guardian of your own prophecy. You stop needing approval and start radiating assurance. Because you no longer need the world to believe in what heaven already approved. Florence said, "Faith never argues or fights, it simply knows." So the next time you feel tempted to explain your plans, pause. Feel the strength in stillness. Remember that peace is proof of trust. And that your silence is a sanctuary where your miracles take shape. Beloved, every great creation in history began in silence. The artist paints before the world sees. The builder designs before the city rises. The universe itself was formed out of quiet intention before the first word. Let there be light. Creation begins in the unseen. It is born in the void, and the void is sacred. When you protect your desires, you protect your vibration. And when your vibration remains pure, manifestation happens effortlessly. You will not need to chase. You will not need to convince. Because your silence becomes magnetic. It says to the universe, "I am ready, I am steady, I am sure," And heaven loves certainty. You see, the poor in spirit rush to share because they crave validation. But the wealthy in spirit stay silent because they crave manifestation. They understand that validation is temporary, but vibration is eternal. And when you choose vibration over validation, miracles become your normal. Say softly now, I am becoming quietly wealthy. Again, becoming quietly wealthy. Let those words echo within you, because every moment you keep your desire sacred, its energy expands. Every time you choose silence over fear, your frequency rises, and soon, without announcement or noise, what you prayed for will appear. Naturally, gracefully, beautifully. The world will call it sudden. You will know it was silent. Florence would remind you, never violate the law of secrecy when creating in the invisible. So honor the silence. Protect the seed. Let your roots grow deep before showing your flower. For the spiritually wealthy know, what you protect multiplies, and what you expose too soon dissolves. So today, beloved, walk with calm certainty. Do not rush. Do not prove. Hold your desires close like sacred gems. Smile when people ask what you're working on and whisper inside, something heaven and I are creating together. Because it is not their understanding that grows your dream. It is your faith, your peace, your silence. Say softly now, as your decree, I trust the unseen. My dreams grow in silence. The universe remembers my intention, and it will bloom in perfect timing, under grace and in divine order. And so it is. Beloved, every truly wealthy soul understands this sacred truth. What you picture in your mind is a divine instruction to the universe. Your imagination is not fantasy. It is prophecy. And this is why the spiritually wealthy guard the details of their vision with reverence and silence. Florence Scovel Shinn said, man can only receive what he sees himself receiving. But she also warned, do not discuss your affairs with anyone. Because the moment you expose your inner image to minds that do not understand faith, you dilute its purity. The spiritually wealthy know that every mental picture is a seed of reality. And not all soil is fertile enough to protect it. Your vision is your spiritual architecture. Every image you hold is a design drafted in the invisible world. The walls, the windows, the foundation, they are built through your focus, through your emotion, through your belief. And until that house of creation is ready to appear in the physical, you must keep its blueprint safe from the winds of doubt. Beloved, when you tell someone your vision too soon, they might smile. But silently, they might question. They might not mean harm, but their vibration of disbelief touches your energy field. And because thought is magnetic, even the smallest doubt can tangle your signal. So the spiritually wealthy say little and imagine much. They speak less and create more. They know that manifestation is not a public event. It is a private ceremony. Their vision boards are not for display. They are for devotion. Their visualization time is not performance. It is partnership with infinite mind. When they close their eyes, they are entering heaven's design studio, crafting miracles line by line with emotion as ink and belief as blueprint. Florence said, impress the subconscious with perfect pictures of success. That word, impress, is sacred. It means to press upon, to mark deeply. So every image you hold impresses your subconscious mind. And your subconscious, being obedient to spiritual law, goes to work manifesting what it was shown. But if you allow conflicting opinions, fears, or comparisons to enter, the picture blurs. And a blurred image creates a delayed manifestation. Beloved, the rich in spirit understand clarity is wealth. They don't waste their mental cinema on fear. They don't replay scenes of loss or failure. They hold one image. Peaceful, prosperous, perfect. And they live inside it. They walk as though that image were already true. Because in divine mind, it is. Say softly now. I live inside the picture of my prosperity. Again. I live inside the picture of my prosperity. Every time you speak those words, your mind begins to merge with your vision. Your nervous system accepts abundance as familiar. Your heart relaxes into expectancy. And the universe, like a faithful servant, begins to arrange itself around your picture. You see, beloved, Spiritually wealthy people do not share the details of their vision because they know energy must concentrate before it expands. If you keep adjusting or explaining, you scatter your focus. If you protect and trust, you intensify it. Creation happens through intensity of belief, not volume of words. Your picture does not need permission, it needs power. And power grows in privacy. So when you visualize, do it quietly. Feel it deeply. Picture yourself already there, not wishing but living. Smell the air of that new reality. Hear the sounds of peace. Feel the warmth of security. Let your senses participate in your miracle. That is how the spiritually wealthy pray. They don't beg. They broadcast. They don't ask. They align. They know that the mind that imagines wealth is already one with the wealth imagined. Florence said, "Man's word is his wand, filled with magic and power. But I tell you, beloved, his picture is his prophecy. When you hold an image long enough, it begins to breathe. It gains magnetism. It gathers substance. It becomes a living reality waiting for permission to appear. So don't expose it to noise. Protect your mental movie until it's ready for premiere. When people ask what you're manifesting, smile gently and say, 'Something wonderful is unfolding.' That answer protects your energy. It satisfies curiosity without surrendering your power. Say softly now, 'My vision is sacred. My focus is wealth.' Again, 'My vision is sacred. My focus is wealth.' You are now behaving like the spiritually rich, the ones who build realities through inner sight, not outer chatter. They are not louder than others. They are lighter. They live in quiet certainty, while the world shouts confusion. And that certainty is what makes them magnetic. Remember, beloved, your subconscious is like fertile ground. Whatever image you plant in it grows. Plant peace, and you harvest stability. Plant prosperity, and you harvest opportunity. Plant doubt, and weeds will rise. So keep your field clean. Keep your focus pure. Keep your faith private until the fruit appears. Because when you protect your picture, heaven paints the rest. The color, the timing, the form. All handled by divine design. Your only work is to see clearly and believe completely. Florence said, "The game of life is a game of boomerangs. Man's thoughts, deeds, and words return to him with astonishing accuracy. And your images, beloved, are those boomerangs. Send out only the ones you wish to receive. So close your eyes and whisper softly, 'I hold my vision in divine secrecy. My images are blessed. My pictures are pure. And what I see within, heaven reveals without, under grace, in perfect ways.' Then release the picture to infinite mind. No worry, no doubt, no need to tell anyone. Just peace. Because the spiritually wealthy know, what you see in silence today becomes what the world sees tomorrow. And so it is. Beloved, the spiritually wealthy understand that manifestation is not an event. It is a rhythm. It is not something they do once and forget. It is a way of living, breathing, and thinking. Their wealth, but not just on ideas, but on spiritual practices that keep their vibration clear, their faith steady, and their connection with divine mind open. But here's their secret: they do these things quietly. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Prayer is telephoning to God, and intuition is God telephoning to you." The spiritually wealthy live by that law every single day. They make time to call the divine, not through loud rituals or public performance, but through silent alignment. Their daily practices are private conversations between their soul and infinite mind. They do not post their prayers. They do not boast about their discipline. Because they know that the moment the sacred becomes a show, the power begins to fade. Their morning begins not with noise, but with knowing. Before the world wakes up, they are already aligned. They rise in quiet gratitude. They whisper, "Thank you for this day. Thank you that supply flows freely. Thank you that I am guided, guarded, and grounded." And because gratitude is their first language, abundance becomes their natural response. Beloved, you will not find them scrolling through fear. The moment they open their eyes, you will find them listening to peace. Because they know the first few moments of the morning are the most magnetic. The subconscious is open. The veil between thought and creation is thin. and what they impress in that silence shapes the entire day. Florence said, "Man's word is his wand." So the spiritually wealthy begin their morning speaking life. They declare, "Everything I need comes to me easily and freely. I live under grace, and all that belongs to me by divine right appears now." They repeat until their heart believes it, because they know repetition is not begging, it is programming. Every word is a new command to the subconscious, and the subconscious never argues. It only obeys. Their prayer time is not about asking. It is about aligning. They don't say, "Please make it happen." They say, "Thank you that it already has." They live by faith that what exists in the invisible will soon appear in the visible, under grace, in perfect ways. They might meditate quietly, not as escape but as access. For meditation to them is not emptiness. It is conversation. It is the moment where divine instruction enters their awareness. Sometimes, they receive a nudge, an idea, a feeling, and they act on it without hesitation. They don't explain it. They don't debate it. They trust it. Because they know intuition is the divine's reply to their prayer. Beloved, their spiritual practice may look simple from the outside, but inwardly, it moves heaven. Because consistency builds vibration, and vibration builds reality. They don't wait for a crisis to pray. They pray daily, so when challenge arises, they are already strong. Their peace is their preparation. Say softly now, "My peace prepares my prosperity." Again, "My peace prepares my prosperity." Every day. The spiritually wealthy do something else the world often forgets. They protect their energy after their rituals. They don't step out of meditation and into chaos. They stay in a bubble of stillness, letting the vibration of prayer settle into the aura. Because right after spiritual practice, the aura is wide open, luminous, sensitive. It is like wet paint. It must not be touched by negativity. They guard that silence as sacred ground. They don't gossip, complain, or compare. They simply remain grateful. Florence said, "You must be careful of your moods and feelings, for there is always someone trying to enter your garden. That garden is your consciousness. And the spiritually wealthy do not let uninvited thoughts trample their flowers. They treat their inner state like holy soil. They keep it nourished, pure, and protected. Beloved, when they move for the day, they stay tuned. They walk like prayer in motion, calm, deliberate, graceful. Their peace itself becomes their practice. They give not out of pressure, but out of flow. They work not out of fear, but out of purpose. They rest not from exhaustion, but from completion. Their entire life becomes worship without words. And at night, before they sleep, they seal the day in gratitude. They review the good, not the worry. They bless the lessons, not the losses. They say softly, "Thank you, Spirit, for everything I received and everything I released." And then, as they drift into rest, they hand their consciousness back to divine mind, trusting it to organize tomorrow. Say softly now, "My days begin with peace and end with praise." Again, "My days begin with peace and end with praise." That rhythm, gratitude, alignment, protection, becomes their secret wealth frequency. They do not have to announce it, because their results announce themselves. You can feel their energy when they enter a room. Calm, confident, magnetic. They glow without showing. They prosper without performing, because they have turned their daily spiritual practice into daily wealth practice. Florence said, "Prayer is the key to heaven, but faith unlocks the door. And I tell you, beloved, consistency keeps it open. That is why the spiritually wealthy practice daily, silently, faithfully, not for ritual's sake, but for relationship's sake. They are in constant communication with divine mind, and that communication becomes their protection, their provision, their peace. So keep your daily practice sacred. Make it your secret temple, your private meeting place with infinite mind, because in that stillness, heaven rearranges your world. Say softly now, "I meet the divine in silence. I am recharged in stillness. My daily peace produces my daily prosperity." And as you speak these words, feel your heart relax, your breath deepen, and your energy stabilize. For you are learning what the spiritually wealthy already know that the richest moments happen in quiet conversation with the divine. And that silence is your strongest prayer. Beautiful, here is Keynote 40. Their inner doubts and battles, expanded into about 800 words in Florence Scovel Shinn's sacred, reassuring, and deeply introspective voice. Written in the perfect rhythm for emotional voiceover, blending spiritual truth with gentle authority. Beloved, even the most spiritually wealthy souls, the calm ones, the confident ones, the magnetic ones, have their moments of doubt. They too wake some mornings with a trembling thought that whispers, "What if it doesn't work this time?" But here lies their difference. They never invite doubt, it, bless it, and transform it into power. Privately, quietly, faithfully. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Every man is a golden link in the chain of my good. That includes the moments that challenge you, the thoughts that test you, and the doubts that try to shadow your faith. For the spiritually wealthy understand, doubt is not an enemy, it is a messenger. It appears only to reveal where faith must grow stronger. When fear enters their mind, they do not panic. They pause. They do not confess it to everyone, nor seek sympathy from those who would feed it. They bring it straight to the divine. They say, 'Spirit, this fear is not mine. I return it to the light.' And in that moment, they transmute what could have become poison into prayer. Beloved, they have learned that when you speak your fears to the wrong people, those fears multiply. But when you speak them only to God, they dissolve. Because human sympathy may comfort you, but divine truth transforms you. And transformation is the goal. You see, the spiritually wealthy guard their inner world like holy ground. They know every thought is a seed, and they will not allow weeds of fear to grow unchecked. When doubt rises, they do not feed it with more words. They starve it with silence. They replace it with declaration. They speak softly but firmly. I walk by faith, not by sight. And even if their voice shakes, their decision does not. They may feel uncertainty, but they choose belief. Because faith is not the absence of fear, it is the mastery of it. Florence said, "Fear must be erased from the consciousness before the divine order can come." So they work within. They do not fight doubt. They erase it through remembrance. They remind themselves of every miracle that has already come through faith. They recount each answered prayer, each divine provision, each moment grace showed up uninvited but right on time. They let memory build momentum, and that remembrance becomes the cure for anxiety. Say softly now, "I remember every miracle, and I trust the next one." Again, "I remember every miracle, and I trust the next one." This is how the spiritually wealthy win battles no one sees. They do not post their pain. They process it through presence. They do not announce their struggles. They surrender them in silence. Because they know that when you bring your weakness to the divine, heaven strengthens it. Their private moments of doubt become classrooms for deeper wisdom. They learn that fear is simply faith pointed in the wrong direction. So they turn it around. When fear says, "What if it goes wrong?" faith says, "What if it goes perfectly right?" When fear says, "You can't," faith says, "God already did." And that reversal becomes their ritual. Beloved, you must understand. The world trains you to fear delay. But the spiritually wealthy have learned to trust divine timing. When manifestation seems slow, they do not curse the process. They bless the waiting. Because they know that delay is not denial. It is divine preparation. The universe is arranging the pieces they cannot yet see. And their only job is to stay in alignment, not agitation. Say softly now, "Every delay is divine preparation." Again. Every delay is divine preparation. Every time you repeat that, your spirit calms and your vibration steadies. And once you are calm, your miracle can find you. Florence said, "Faith never argues or fights. It simply knows." So when the spiritually wealthy feel fear creeping in, they stop arguing with it. They breathe. They affirm. They choose peace again. They might walk, pray, journal, or sit in silence until peace returns. Because they know, peace is not the reward. Peace is the path. And here lies their power. They never let temporary emotions dictate eternal truth. They may cry for a moment, but they don't camp in sorrow. They may question for an hour, but they end the day in gratitude. They may tremble in the dark, but they still whisper, "Let there be light." Beloved, this is how you win the inner battle. You do not need to be fearless, you need to be faithful. Because faith, even as small as a mustard seed, moves mountains when it's consistent. So the next time you feel worry stirring, don't broadcast it to the world. Close your eyes, go within, and declare softly, "This thought is not mine, this fear is not truth. I am one with divine supply, and I am safe in divine order." The moment you say it, heaven takes over the situation. Fear fades, clarity returns, and your vibration resets to power. Because the spiritually wealthy know, inner victory always precedes outer success. They handle doubt in silence, so that faith can speak louder than ever. They walk through storms with calm faces, because their hearts are anchored in divine knowing. And though the world may never see their battles, it will surely witness their blessings. Florence said, "Every test is but a chance to prove the power of God." So they do not fear the test, they welcome it. They know that when they stay centered, miracles are born out of pressure. And what once felt like battle soon becomes breakthrough. Say softly now, "Every test strengthens my faith. Every fear reminds me of my power. Every doubt turns into divine direction." Again, slower with certainty, "I am calm. I am centered. I am covered by grace. Beloved, from this day on, treat every doubt as a signal, not a setback. Let it point you back to peace. And remember, you never fight alone. For when you face fear with faith, heaven fights with you." That is how the spiritually wealthy conquer their inner battles. Not loudly, but faithfully. Not through resistance, but through remembrance. Not by proving, but by trusting. And when the battle is over, their peace shines brighter than before. That peace becomes their wealth. That calm becomes their crown. And so it is. Beloved, every truly wealthy soul, in spirit and in life, lives by divine instruction. They do not move because of pressure. They move because of prompting. They do not act because the world demands it. They act because spirit whispers it. And when that whisper comes, they obey in silence. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Intuition is God's way of speaking to a human mind." The spiritually wealthy have learned to recognize that voice. The still, small voice that comes in peace, not panic. It does not shout. It does not argue. It does not confuse. It simply knows. Beloved, this voice does not come to the busy mind. It visits the quiet one. That is why those who live by divine law make silence their daily sanctuary. For in the noise of the world, fear speaks loudly. But in the stillness of faith, divine mind gives instruction. The spiritually wealthy know that when the inner voice speaks, they must not rush to tell anyone. They do not need agreement from man, when heaven has already confirmed the plan. They act quietly, knowing that spiritual instruction is personal, not public. They understand that the more you talk about divine direction, the less you hear it. Because talking disperses energy, while silence concentrates it. Florence said, "Faith acts without asking why. And that is the rule they live by. When spirit nudges them, call this person, apply there, forgive that debt. They do not overthink. They do not delay. They obey. Because they know that divine timing requires divine response. Heaven's instruction always carries a window of grace. And those who act within that window are met with miracles. Beloved, when you receive divine instruction, it may not make sense to logic. It rarely does. The mind measures, the spirit moves. Logic sees risk, faith sees revelation. And those who walk by faith see what logic never could. The spiritually wealthy do not ask, "How will this work?" They say, "I trust it already has." When you learn to follow that inner leading, doors open without effort. Opportunities appear that no human could have arranged. You find yourself at the right place, with the right people. In the right moment, not because you forced it, but because you flowed with it. That is the way of divine order. Say softly now, "I am guided. I am guarded. I am grounded in grace." Again, I am guided. I am guarded. I am grounded in grace. Every time you speak those words, your energy field stabilizes. You begin to feel that calm, quiet confidence that only faith brings. You no longer rush to make things happen. You allow them to unfold through obedience. Beloved, divine instruction often arrives as a feeling, not a sentence. It may come as peace about one choice and unease about another. The spiritually wealthy trust that signal. They understand that peace is direction. When something is meant for them, it carries no strain. When it is not, even opportunity feels heavy, and so they follow the lightness. Florence said, "Nothing stands between man and his highest good but fear." So when divine instruction feels strange, they do not resist it with fear. They remember that spirit sees what they cannot. That the steps may look uncertain, but the destination is already safe. They obey, not because they understand, but because they trust. The spiritually wealthy move differently. They don't chase. They're called. They don't guess. They're guided. They don't rush. They're ready. And the world often calls them lucky. But heaven calls them aligned. Beloved, you must learn this same rhythm. When the whisper comes, honor it. When the nudge repeats, follow it. You don't have to explain it to anyone. Divine instruction is not a group project. It is a covenant between you and infinite mind. Say softly now, when spirits, I move in silence. Again and when spirit speaks, I move in silence. Because silence protects direction. The spiritually wealthy never expose their divine orders to those who have not heard them. They know that when others cannot hear what you hear, they will try to correct it. Not out of malice, but misunderstanding. And misunderstanding can muffle miracles. So they protect their hearing by protecting their words. Florence said, obedience to intuition is the key to success. And indeed, that is the foundation of spiritual wealth. Not hard work alone, but aligned work. Not effort alone, but instruction followed in faith. Beloved, there are times when the divine will ask you to release something before the new comes. To give before you receive. To walk before you see. In those moments, trust the invisible map. Because every divine instruction carries divine provision with it. Heaven will never send you on a journey without already preparing the road. The spiritually wealthy don't need the full plan. They move one faithful step at a time. And somehow every step reveals the next. It is like walking through that clears as you go. You don't see the destination, but you know you're not lost. That is the peace of obedience. Say softly, each step I take is divinely guided. Each choice I make is divinely ordered. Again slower, each step I take is divinely guided. Each choice I make is divinely ordered. When you live this way, beloved, you no longer fear mistakes. Because even your detours are divine design. Even your pauses are protection. Even your no's are preparation for a greater yes. So do not question the whisper. Do not rush to tell the world what heaven told you in private. Let your actions speak your obedience. And let the results reveal your relationship with divine mind. For that is what the spiritually wealthy do. They receive quietly. They act faithfully. And they prosper peacefully. Because obedience, beloved, is the highest form of trust. And those who trust the divine completely never lack anything. Say softly now as your decree. I follow divine instruction in peace. I walk in perfect order. I move under grace. And what I am called to do, I am fully supplied to do. Again with conviction. I am led by spirit. And my obedience creates my abundance. And as you breathe those words, feel the stillness wrap around you like light. For you are now walking the way of the spiritually wealthy. The quiet ones who move when spirit moves, and manifest miracles without announcing them. And so it is. Beloved, when the spiritually wealthy finish their prayer, their decree, their affirmation, or their manifestation work, they do not rush back into noise. They do not step from heaven straight into chaos. They stay still. They remain quiet. They understand that what has just been spoken into the invisible must be sealed in peace, not scattered by hurry. Florence Scovel Shinn said, every time you make a statement of truth, you plant a seed in the invisible. And the spiritually wealthy know that once a seed is planted, the soil must not be disturbed. The moment after you pray is the most sacred moment of all. It is when the energy field opens. It is when heaven begins to move unseen. And if you guard that vibration, your miracle grows in silence. Beloved, this is why the rich in spirit treat their energy after prayer like holy ground. They do not complain after affirming. They do not worry after decreeing. They do not undo their manifestation by contradiction. They seal their vibration in faith and walk forward as though the work is already done. When they finish their morning decrees, they do not scroll through fear. They sit in quiet confidence. They hold their peace like a crown, because they know the law. The spoken word returns multiplied. If you speak truth and follow it with doubt, you create confusion. But if you speak truth and follow it with silence, you create power. Florence said, faith knows it has already received and acts accordingly. So after the spiritually wealthy speak their word, they act as though it is already theirs. They carry themselves like receivers, not beggars. They dress with confidence, they walk with ease, they speak gently. Because their outer life mirrors their inner belief. They know that the prayer is not over until the energy matches the declaration. Beloved, many people pray and then rush to worry. They affirm and then argue with the world. They decree abundance and then scroll through comparison. But that breaks the energy. The spiritually wealthy have learned a higher way. When they finish speaking, they release it to divine mind and remain in harmony. They trust that the law is already working, even if nothing appears to be changing. They know manifestation is like baking bread. Once it's in the oven, you don't keep opening the door to check. You trust the process. Because if you open the door too soon, you let the heat escape. So they protect their prayer heat, their spiritual fire, through calm detachment. Say softly now, I release and rest. Again, I release and rest. Every time you say those words, your spirit aligns with divine order. You let go of control, and you let God handle completion. Beloved, when you finish your spiritual work, whether it's a decree, a visualization, or an affirmation, imagine your aura as light, soft and golden, glowing around you. That light is sensitive. It carries the energy of your intention. It must be shielded from negativity, criticism, gossip, or fear. Because every thought you entertain immediately after prayer either strengthens your vibration or weakens it. That is why the spiritually wealthy do not engage with drama after divine work. They don't rush into phone calls, arguments, or distractions. They stay sacredly silent for a while, walking slowly, breathing deeply, smiling softly. They know that silence is the cement that seals their decree. Florence said, after man knows the truth, he cannot afford to be negative. Because negativity reopens what faith had already closed. So they protect their vibration like a newborn dream. They stay gentle with themselves and with others. They avoid explaining what they just prayed for, because divine energy is still organizing the details. Beloved, I tell you, right after prayer, the universe is listening most closely. It listens to see if you will contradict what you have just commanded. If you say, I am rich in divine supply, and then sigh, but it never happens for me, the universe takes the sigh, not the statement. But if you say, I am rich in divine supply, and then stay peaceful, heaven says, she knows. Bring it to her now. This is why the spiritually wealthy practice emotional discipline. Their peace after prayer is their proof of faith. They measure their belief not by words but by calm. Because peace means it's done. Say softly now, my peace is my proof. Again, my peace is my proof. After they pray, they may take a walk, drink water slowly, or listen to stillness. They may write gratitude for what has not yet appeared. They may simply whisper, thank you, thank you, thank you, until joy fills the room. Because that joy is the vibration of completion. Beloved, the aura after prayer is magnetic. It sends out waves of light that draw matching experiences back to you. But if you rush into fear, those waves become scattered. So remain soft, remain sure, remain silent for a while. Let the divine do its work. Florence said. All that belongs to you, by divine right should come to you under grace, in perfect ways. So trust that once you have spoken your word, heaven has heard you. You do not need to repeat the prayer in panic. You need only live in gratitude. Say softly now, I have spoken my word, and heaven has heard me. I rest in the knowing that it is done. Again, slower and deeper. I rest in the knowing that it is done. And as you breathe, imagine your aura shining brighter, a field of faith, glowing gold around you, protecting your peace, magnetizing your good. This is the posture of spiritual wealth. The quiet after prayer is not empty. It is electric. It hums with divine creation. Beloved, when you finish your manifestation work, say, feel more. Do less, believe more. Because what you believe in silence will soon become what you hold in your hands. The spiritually wealthy live by this rhythm. They speak, they seal, they stay still. And that stillness becomes their secret strength, because the universe responds to consistency, not noise. So from this moment on, protect your energy after prayer like gold. Bless your stillness. Trust your word. And remember, what you release in peace always returns in power. And so it is. Beloved, the spiritually wealthy never boast about their blessings before they bloom. And even when the miracle arrives, they do not shout, "Look what I did." They whisper, "Look what God has done through me." Because they know, true wealth speaks in silence. And miracles do not need marketing. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Faith never boasts. It simply knows." The spiritually wealthy live by that law. They are not in competition with others. They are in communion with the divine. Their results are not announcements. They are confirmations that the law works. They do not flaunt manifestation. They demonstrate it. Their peace is proof. Their calm is evidence. Their abundance becomes the quiet testimony of divine order in motion. Beloved, the ones who truly walk with spirit never need to convince anyone that the law of attraction is real. Their life becomes the sermon. Their aura becomes the advertisement. Their consistency becomes the teaching. You see, when you are genuinely aligned, your results do not make you loud. They make you luminous. Because every miracle that appears in your life is not to prove power, but to express love. It is the universe saying, "I keep my promises." Florence said, "There is no such thing as coincidence. Every blessing comes by law." So the spiritually wealthy don't call their success luck. They call it law fulfilled. They don't feel surprised when good arrives. They feel grateful. Because they knew it was already theirs in the invisible long before it appeared in the visible. When the world says, "You're so lucky," they smile and say quietly, "No, I'm so aligned." Beloved, when your manifestation appears, whether it's money, opportunity, or healing, you must learn to receive it with reverence. Not to show the world what you've gained, but to thank the divine for what has been completed. For every miracle you receive has a purpose beyond yourself. It's a reminder to others that faith works, that love provides, that obedience opens doors no man can shut. The spiritually wealthy share their stories not for attention, but for activation. When they speak of what has manifested, they do so with humility and grace. They say, "This happened through divine timing. This came because I trusted the law." Their voice carries calm gratitude, not pride, because pride says, "I made this happen," but gratitude says, "God flowed through me." Florence said, "There is a supply for every demand." So when their supply comes, the spiritually wealthy give thanks before they spend it. They bless every dollar, every client, every gift. They hold it in their hands and whisper, "Thank you for flowing through me. I bless you. And I release you to multiply under grace." And that gratitude multiplies what they have, because the law is simple. What you bless, blesses you back. Beloved, when your miracle arrives, guard it with the same grace you used to birth it. You don't need to explain how it came. You don't need to prove that you manifested it. You simply continue walking in gratitude, letting the vibration of peace grow stronger. Because miracles attract more miracles when the receiver stays humble. The spiritually wealthy understand something profound. What you celebrate in private continues to expand in public. When they receive abundance, they share silently with others in need. When they experience promotion, they remain generous, not grand. When their manifestations appear, they return to prayer, not to ask for more, but to say thank you for what already is. Say softly now, I am grateful before, during, and after my miracle. Again, I am grateful before, during, and after my miracle. Every time you speak that, you align your spirit with divine flow. You remove the ego from creation, leaving only grace, and grace, beloved, never runs out. Florence said, man can only lose what he no longer appreciates. That means the moment gratitude fades, supply weakens. But the moment gratitude returns, abundance renews. That is why the spiritually wealthy make thankfulness their daily habit. Not when they get something, but even when they give something away. They bless the outgoing and the incoming equally. They know that both are proof of circulation, and circulation is life. When you start receiving miracles, beloved, stay anchored. Don't let people's curiosity pull you off your spiritual path. Many will ask, how did you do it? And you may feel tempted to explain every method. But the spiritually wealthy smile gently and say, through divine order. That answer says everything and nothing at once, protecting the sacred while inspiring faith. Beloved, remember this. When your miracle arrives, that is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of your next evolution. Every answered prayer carries a responsibility to live as a vessel of the divine, to use your blessing to bless others, to let your abundance heal, not boast, to let your peace teach, not preach. Say softly now, my miracle is my ministry. Again, my miracle is my ministry. Because every manifestation you receive becomes proof that spirit is real and faith works. You become a living scripture of grace, your life preaching without a word. Florence said, nothing stands between man and his highest good but fear. So when your miracle comes, don't fear losing it. Don't cling to it. Simply bless it, enjoy it, and keep circulating. Because you now know the law, what you bless multiplies, what you fear dissolves. The spiritually wealthy live in that rhythms. They create in silence. They receive in gratitude, they share in humility. And then, quietly, they begin again. Beloved, your miracles are on their way. You will not need to convince anyone when they arrive. They will see. They will feel. They will know. For the vibration of grace is undeniable. Say softly now as your final decree. My miracles reveal themselves in perfect timing. I receive in peace. I give in love. And I live under grace. In perfect ways. Then breathe deeply, and imagine your life surrounded by quiet proof. Every corner of your existence touched by divine order, because that is what it means to live as the spiritually wealthy. You no longer chase validation. You walk in confirmation. And so it is. Beloved, now that you have listened, breathed, and believed, I want you to remember this truth. You were never meant to chase money. You were meant to call it. You were never meant to beg for blessings. You were meant to receive them. Calmly, confidently, completely. You are not here to prove your worth. You are here to remember your inheritance. For the universe is not testing you. It is teaching you. And spirit is not withholding anything from you. It is waiting for you to align with what has been yours all along. Florence Scovel Shinn said, nothing can come to you unless it belongs to you by divine right. So hear me now, beloved. Everything that is truly yours cannot miss you. The house that carries your name, the wealth with your energy, the opportunities prepared for your hands. They are already on their way. You do not need to chase what already remembers you. You need only hold your peace, keep your faith, and walk as if it is done. Say softly now, no longer chase. I attract. Again, I no longer chase. I attract. Every time you say those words, your energy shifts from desperation to declaration. You stop reaching outward and start radiating inward. You stop begging for signs and start becoming the signal. You stop doubting your worth and start living your wealth. Beloved, your silence has power. Your faith has frequency. Your words have weight. And your energy, your calm, your certainty, your gratitude, is your magnet. You don't need to shout to be heard by heaven. You need only whisper with conviction. Because the universe does not respond to noise. It responds to knowing. So tonight, when you close your eyes, see yourself surrounded by golden light. Feel that light circling your aura, healing you, clearing you, magnetizing you. It is the light of divine supply. It knows where your blessings are. It knows what belongs to you. And as you rest, it is already guiding everything that has your name on it to find you. Quickly, peacefully, perfectly. Say softly, everything that belongs to me is finding me now, under grace, in perfect ways. Again, slower. Everything that belongs to me is finding me now, under grace, in perfect ways. A breathe. Feel that truth enter your soul. Because wealth is not waiting for you. It is remembering you. Money does not belong to the loud or the lucky. It belongs to the aligned. It belongs to the peaceful. It belongs to the faithful. Florence said, there is a perfect plan for your life, bigger, better, and more beautiful than you have ever dreamed. So if you are listening to these words now, you are already stepping into that plan. Your doubts are dissolving. Your frequency is rising. Your divine inheritance is awakening. You are not becoming wealthy. You are remembering you always were. Because Spirit has never seen you as poor, broken, or limited. It has only ever seen you as powerful, prosperous, and complete. Say it softly, with faith. I am powerful. I am prosperous. Again. I am powerful. I am prosperous. I am complete. Let those words echo through your being. Let them become your new rhythm. Because the moment you feel whole, everything incomplete rushes to join you. The moment you stop asking when, and start saying, now, heaven moves faster than time. Beloved, your season of struggle is over. Your era of alignment has begun. You have planted. You have believed. Now rest. Because what you have spoken in faith will appear in form. And as Florence would say, it will come under grace, in perfect ways. So lift your hands, open your heart, and whisper with me now, one final time. Divine Spirit, I am open. I am magnetic to miracles. All that belongs to me flows to me now, easily, freely, abundantly. I rest in faith. I walk in peace, and I receive in perfect timing under grace and in divine order. Now breathe deeply. Smile softly. You have just aligned with the frequency of wealth. And from this moment forward, everything you touch, think, and speak will rise to meet that vibration. Your aura is glowing, your faith is working, your miracle is unfolding, and so it is, forever and always.
There are words which, when spoken with faith, become living seeds planted in the fertile garden of the subconscious. These words hold power, not because of their sound alone, but because they are charged with the belief of the one who utters them. Thought is a vibration, speech gives it form, belief makes it substance. The unseen responds instantly to the spoken word, and what is declared in faith begins to clothe itself with visible conditions. Money, though often misunderstood, is but a symbol of supply. It flows like water to those who recognize its divine source and allow it to move freely, without fear or resistance. Lack is never in reality. It is but the shadow cast by doubt and unbelief. Abundance is the eternal truth, and when one aligns with that truth, great sums of money may rush forth from expected and unexpected channels. The secret lies not in striving, nor in anxious labor, but in speaking the word with unwavering certainty. The lips may utter many phrases, but only the declaration rooted in conviction carries the current of manifestation. To say it once, just once, with the full force of faith, is to set in motion the invisible machinery that brings wealth into form. The universe is not deaf, nor is it slow to respond, rather it is precise, exact and swift when the command is clear. One must stand as if already in possession, speaking as the owner of riches rather than the seeker of them. The subconscious mind, like a faithful servant, obeys the tone of authority. When you speak your word with assurance, it does not argue. It does not delay, it only proceeds to fulfill. The spoken decree becomes law in the unseen, and soon the outer life reflects the inner declaration. To attract large sums of money, one does not beg, plead, or chase. These actions only affirm lack. Instead, one must recognize that money is an obedient messenger, ready to serve its rightful master. It comes to those who speak to it as to a trusted friend, with confidence, with certainty, and with love. Fear chases it away, faith calls it near. The one who says the word once, with the fire of absolute belief, does not need to repeat it in desperation. For the word, once spoken in faith, is eternal. It travels swiftly through the unseen, gathering substance, arranging circumstances, opening doors, and touching hearts, until the sum declared is delivered. Therefore, prepare the inner chamber of thought. Sweep it clean of doubt, fear, and unbelief. Fill it with the fragrance of expectancy. When the mind is still and the heart is steadfast, speak your word, not many times, not with wavering, but once, with divine certainty. In that single utterance lies the key to riches untold, for the universe always answers the clear, fearless voice of faith. The spoken word becomes law in the unseen, for the unseen is the realm of cause, and the visible world is but its effect. Every word uttered is more than mere sound. It is vibration, energy, and command. When one speaks, the word travels outward, but it also travels inward, impressing itself upon the subconscious mind, which is the silent builder of all conditions. The subconscious does not argue, nor does it reason. It only accepts the vibration impressed upon it. Therefore, when words are spoken with authority and faith, they pass beyond the surface mind and become the decree that the unseen forces obey. Throughout time, the power of the spoken word has been emphasized in sacred teachings, parables, and wisdom traditions. In the beginning, creation itself was called forth by a word. This is no idle poetry but a profound truth. Speech is a force that sets into motion currents unseen by the physical eye. When one speaks, thought is clothed in sound, and sound is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Just as a seed planted in soil begins to grow in darkness before it breaks into light, so too does the spoken word germinate in the unseen before appearing as visible results. Every individual carries within themselves the creative power of the word, yet many scatter it carelessly, speaking of fear, lack, and limitation, unaware that such words also take root. To say, I cannot, I lack, or I fear is to write law upon the subconscious, and the unseen world rushes to confirm it. The law is impersonal. It does not choose between good or bad, rich or poor. It only mirrors what has been spoken with belief. Thus, to understand that the spoken word becomes law is to understand both the peril and the promise of speech. If one guards the tongue and speaks only words of power, prosperity, and health, the unseen aligns itself to produce those very conditions. The spoken word carries its strength not only in sound but in tone, conviction, and intent. A word uttered timidly has little power, for it carries hesitation and doubt. But a word spoken with calm certainty, with the quiet authority of one who knows, resounds through the unseen like a trumpet call. The subconscious does not respond to repetition alone, it responds to the vibration of belief. A single phrase spoken once with complete faith carries far more power than 100 words mumbled with uncertainty. The law of the unseen listens not to the many words, but to the energy behind them. When one declares, I am rich, I am supplied, or I am divinely provided for, the unseen takes these words as commands. The subconscious mind immediately sets about rearranging circumstances, people and events to reflect this declaration. The channels may be hidden, the methods unknown, but the law is sure. The unseen is the workshop of creation, and words are the blueprints handed to it. To speak poverty is to design poverty, to speak abundance is to design abundance. The blueprint does not question, it builds. It is essential to recognize that the spoken word is not mere affirmation but law. Affirmations, when recited without belief, are often like scattered seeds upon rocky ground, quickly withering. But when one speaks as though the decree is already established, with the dignity and authority of truth, then the unseen is compelled to act. Law does not delay. Law does not forget. The law of the unseen is precise and exact, delivering according to the decree. This is why words of doubt, spoken even in jest, can plant seeds of delay, while words of faith spoken in stillness can overturn mountains of impossibility. Consider how the spoken word operates in everyday life. A parent tells a child they are clever, capable, and strong, and over time, the child grows into that vision, because the subconscious has accepted those words as identity. Likewise, a parent who calls a child foolish or weak plants those seeds, and the unseen world produces circumstances that mirror the identity spoken over them. The law is impartial. It responds to all words spoken with authority. Every casual phrase, every careless declaration is a seed. Thus, one must cultivate the habit of speech, as one cultivates a garden, pulling up the weeds of complaint, replacing them with words of power and beauty. The word, once spoken in faith, does not fade into nothingness. It continues to vibrate, to create, to draw to itself the elements necessary for fulfillment. Just as a seed does not sprout immediately yet is alive beneath the soil, so too the word spoken with belief may not show instant results, but is alive in the unseen. Doubt uproots the seed, faith leaves it planted. One who knows this truth speaks the word and then rests, certain that the law is working beyond sight. The unseen is never idle. It is ceaseless in its operation, faithful to the decree. The spoken word is also magnetic. It attracts to itself like vibrations, drawing circumstances, opportunities, and even people who match its tone. To speak of wealth draws wealth. To speak of joy draws joy. To speak of health draws health. Conversely, to dwell on misfortune, disease, or limitation is to magnetize those very conditions. The unseen is a perfect mirror, reflecting what has been projected into it. If one desires prosperity, one must speak prosperity. If one desires harmony, one must speak harmony. The law is unfailing, and the word is always the beginning of creation. When the spoken word becomes law in the unseen, the individual stands as a co-creator with the divine. Every phrase uttered with faith is an act of creation, a decree that the invisible forces hasten to fulfill. The one who understands this principle no longer speaks idly, no longer indulges in careless words of lack, criticism, or fear. Instead, they measure each word, knowing that it carries weight in the unseen. They speak deliberately, with confidence, with clarity, and with power. Their words are few, but each is charged with conviction. The law of the unseen does not measure length or volume, it measures belief. One word of faith outweighs 1,000 of doubt, for the law hears only the vibration of certainty. The spoken word becomes law in the unseen, and in that moment of speech, the future is written. Each declaration shapes the path ahead, for the unseen does not delay. It begins at once to form the conditions spoken. To say, "I live in abundance," is to set the unseen in motion to arrange abundance. To say, "I am always provided for," is to activate channels of provision. To say, "Large sums of money come to me," is to invite the law to fulfill that decree in ways beyond comprehension. The unseen does not fail, it cannot. It is bound by its own precision to obey the command impressed upon it. Money is a symbol of divine supply, not struggle. For it is never an end in itself, but a representation of the infinite abundance of life. To believe money is scarce or difficult to obtain is to mistake the symbol for the source. The source of all supply is infinite, limitless, and ever flowing, and money is one of its channels of expression. Just as a stream of water is evidence of the vast ocean from which it originates, money is but a trickle of the great sea of substance that lies unseen. The individual who understands this truth ceases to chase after money with fear or anxiety, for they know the supply is already theirs by divine right. Money is not a master, nor is it a tyrant. It is a servant and a tool, designed to flow in and out freely, carrying with it the energy of circulation. Struggle arises only when one clings to it in fear or pushes it away in resentment. Many believe that to possess money is to be burdened with greed, or that to desire wealth is to sin against spirit. Yet such beliefs are rooted in ignorance of the truth. Money itself carries no moral weight. It is neutral, taking on the character of the one who holds it. In the hands of one filled with faith, it becomes a channel of blessing. In the hands of one filled with fear, it becomes a symbol of loss or lack. The substance itself is pure, and it flows abundantly when it is recognized as part of the divine order. When one begins to see money as a symbol, rather than a struggle, a great shift takes place. Fear subsides, anxiety dissolves, and effort gives way to ease. The law of supply is simple. What one recognizes as truth manifests in form. If one views money as scarce, the law provides conditions of scarcity. If one sees money as limitless, the law provides opportunities and channels to mirror that belief. The unseen world is abundant beyond measure, and money is one of its easiest and most natural expressions. It does not require toil, sweat, or endless striving to appear. It requires alignment with the principle that all is provided. The individual who struggles for money often does so because they see themselves as separated from supply. They believe they must labor endlessly to grasp a small portion of what is available. But in truth, there is no separation. Just as a branch is nourished by the tree without effort, so is the individual sustained by the infinite source. Money, when rightly understood, flows naturally, without resistance. The moment one releases the thought of separation and affirms unity with the divine supply, doors open, channels appear, and provision arrives in perfect timing. The struggle ends, because the struggle was never necessary. It was only a shadow cast by false belief. Money is energy in motion, and energy must circulate. The attempt to hoard, to cling, or to lock it away from circulation, interrupts the flow and creates stagnation. Yet when money is recognized as a symbol of divine supply, one gives it freely, receives it freely, and trusts the cycle of circulation. The ocean does not fear that its waves will not return, for each tide follows the rhythm of eternal law. So too does money return, when it is allowed to flow with ease. Generosity becomes natural, gratitude becomes constant, and fear of loss dissolves. One cannot lose that which is infinite in essence. One can only block its flow through belief in lack. Money, as a symbol, responds to thought and feeling. When it is pursued with desperation, it retreats, for desperation is rooted in the recognition of absence. When it is welcomed with joy and gratitude, it flows, for gratitude is rooted in recognition of abundance. The individual who sees money as struggle chases endlessly, never catching, for their belief in struggle is what the law reflects. But the individual who sees money as divine supply attracts it without effort, for their belief in abundance draws abundance. The unseen law is impartial, and it answers precisely according to recognition. There are those who labor heavily, believing money to be earned only by pain and sweat, and yet they find themselves always in lack. There are others who labor lightly, even joyfully, and find themselves continually supplied. The difference lies not in the outer work, but in the inner recognition. Work itself is not the source. It is only one of many channels through which the infinite supply flows. To mistake the channel for the source is to create dependence and limitation. To recognize the source behind the channel is to remain free, knowing that if one channel closes, another must open. For the source is infinite and cannot be exhausted. Money should never be confused with possession, nor should it be feared as fleeting. It is like air, always present, always circulating, always sufficient for all who breathe. The breath does not struggle, it flows. So too does money, when it is seen rightly. To think of it as scarce is to close the lungs of the soul. To think of it as abundant is to breathe freely. The more one trusts in its flow, the more naturally it comes. The less one fears its absence, the less absence appears. The unseen always reflects the consciousness held within. When one sees money as divine supply, gratitude replaces grasping. Each coin, each bill, each transaction becomes a reminder of the infinite abundance behind it. To give is to participate in the circulation of supply, and to receive is to affirm its presence. Neither giving nor receiving is superior, both are expressions of the same current. The one who hesitates to receive blocks the flow as much as the one who hesitates to give. To see money as struggle is to resist this circulation, but to see it as symbol is to participate fully in its dance. Money never comes from struggle, but from recognition. The great sums of wealth that appear in the lives of some are not accidents, nor are they unfair gifts. They are reflections of the inner state of recognition. One who knows themselves as united with infinite supply will naturally attract and hold money, not by clinging but by resting in the certainty of its flow. One who fears lack will repel money, even if it arrives for a season, for their inner recognition drives it away. The law is exact, responding not to effort but to belief. Money is a symbol of divine supply. And this truth is the foundation of ease in financial matters. The one who understands it does not labor with anxiety, nor do they hoard with fear. They see every dollar, every coin, every gift, and every opportunity as a reminder of the infinite. They rest in the certainty that supply is constant, that money flows as naturally as breath, that it is never the object of struggle but the evidence of abundance. In this recognition, they align with the law of supply, and money, obedient to its nature, flows toward them in ever-increasing measure. Faith-filled speech attracts. Fear-filled speech repels, for the vibration carried by words is the true magnet of experience. Words are not empty sounds, they are carriers of energy, wrapped in the tone of belief with which they are spoken. The subconscious mind, and the greater unseen forces of life, do not respond to the outer syllables, but to the inner conviction behind them. When words are spoken with faith, they are charged with a force that draws to them the conditions of fulfillment. When words are spoken with fear, they repel good and summon the very conditions feared. The law of attraction through speech is unerring, for it does not distinguish between wanted or unwanted, it only mirrors the vibration impressed upon it. The power of speech lies in its ability to clothe thought with sound. Thought alone creates vibrations, but when given form through the spoken word, its potency multiplies. A thought of wealth kept silently may begin to shape the inner atmosphere, but a spoken word of wealth carries the vibration outward, striking not only the subconscious, but the universal field of energy that connects all things. When such a word is uttered in faith, it becomes a decree that sets unseen currents into motion. Like a command to loyal servants, it is obeyed without question. Yet when a word is spoken in fear, the same law operates, but in reverse. Fearful speech becomes an order for lack, limitation, and loss, and these conditions hasten to obey as faithfully as wealth and abundance do. Faith-filled speech is not mere repetition of positive phrases. Its power is not in the words themselves, but in the conviction that animates them. One may say, "I am prosperous," 1,000 times, yet if fear lies beneath, the vibration of lack overrides the sound of prosperity. But when one says it once, from a heart filled with certainty, the unseen responds immediately. Faith transforms words into living seeds, bursting with creative power. Fear drains them of life, leaving them empty shells that produce only shadows. Thus, it is not the number of words, but the quality of belief that determines their outcome. Faith-filled speech has a drawing power, because faith itself is a recognition of truth. To speak in faith is to align with the reality of abundance, harmony, and provision that already exists in the unseen. Such words call forth what is already present, bringing it into visible expression. Fear-filled speech, on the other hand, aligns with illusion, declaring as truth the false appearance of lack. Because the subconscious does not distinguish between truth and falsehood, it builds conditions according to the belief carried in the word. When one speaks of failure in fear, failure is drawn near. When one speaks of success in faith, success rushes to meet them. Every word spoken is like the planting of a seed. The soil of the subconscious receives it without question. A word of faith, planted and watered with expectancy, grows into a tree of abundance. A word of fear, planted and watered with anxiety, grows into thorns of limitation. The soil is neutral, it does not choose what to grow. It is the sower who chooses the seed, whether of faith or of fear. Most people scatter seeds of fear without realizing it, speaking of bills, debts, illnesses, and failures as though rehearsing them could relieve them. In truth, such speech only strengthens the very conditions they wish to escape. The one who guards their tongue and speaks only faith, faith-filled words begins to see transformation, for their garden grows fruitful with blessings. Faith-filled speech attracts because it vibrates with expectancy. It is as though the speaker already lives in the reality of their word. When someone declares, "Money flows to me easily," and does so with calm assurance, the vibration sent forth is one of already having. That vibration magnetizes the matching condition. Fear-filled speech repels because it vibrates with absence. To say, "I never have enough money," with conviction is to impress upon the unseen the reality of lack, which then reproduces itself faithfully. The law is not partial, it obeys both faith and fear with the same accuracy. The tone of the voice, the feeling behind the words, and the imagination that accompanies them all contribute to their magnetic power. Words spoken with faith are usually calm, steady, and sure. They carry no trace of desperation. They ring with certainty, and the subconscious hears them as commands. Words spoken with fear are often frantic, rushed, or heavy. They carry doubt, and the subconscious hears them as warnings to create the very conditions feared. The unseen cannot differentiate between what is desired and what is dreaded. It only echoes back the vibration impressed upon it. It is not uncommon for individuals to wonder why their affirmations do not work, even as they repeat positive phrases daily. The answer lies in the hidden vibration behind their words. If fear dominates their inner state, the words of faith are neutralized, like seeds scattered on rocky ground. But when fear is replaced with trust, even a single word spoken with faith carries immense power. The unseen world does not measure quantity but quality. A whispered phrase of belief can outweigh 1,000 shouts of doubt, for it is the vibration, not the volume, that creates. Faith-filled speech attracts opportunities, resources, people, and circumstances that match its vibration. It acts like a magnet, drawing into form the conditions already declared. Those who continually speak of prosperity in faith soon find that doors open for them in unexpected ways. Ideas come, chances appear, and money flows. Their words create a current that pulls abundance toward them. Fear-filled speech, on the other hand, pushes away good. Those who continually speak of lack repel prosperity, even if it attempts to reach them. Opportunities slip away, doors remain closed, and difficulties multiply, for their words push abundance aside as surely as faith-filled words draw it near. The individual who understands this principle becomes deliberate in speech. They no longer speak casually of fears or limitations, for they know every word plants a seed in the unseen. They discipline themselves to speak only words of faith, even in the face of appearances to the contrary. They do not deny the facts of life, but they refuse to give them power through fearful speech. Instead, they declare the higher truth of abundance, health, and success, knowing that the unseen responds to faith, not appearances. Faith-filled speech attracts because it resonates with divine law, while fear-filled speech repels because it resists it. Faith is harmony with truth, while fear is discord with it. When one speaks with faith, they step into alignment with the abundant order of the universe. When one speaks with fear, they fall into opposition, blocking the flow of good. Both faith and fear are creative forces, and both find their expression through the spoken word. The wise choose faith, knowing it alone has the power to attract the good that is already theirs by divine right. Speak once with certainty, not repeatedly with doubt, for the word spoken in faith is like a decree etched into the unseen, and it does not fade nor lose its power once declared. The subconscious mind does not require endless repetition to obey, it requires clarity, conviction, and assurance. When a word is spoken once with absolute certainty, it carries the full force of creative law, and the unseen moves swiftly to bring it into form. To speak the same word again and again with uncertainty is to weaken its vibration, for repetition born of fear plants the seed of doubt alongside the seed of truth, and the harvest becomes confused. The great creative law responds instantly to authority. Just as a servant does not need to be commanded 1,000 times to perform a single task, so too does the unseen not require endless insistence. One command spoken clearly is enough. The moment the word is spoken with certainty, It is written upon the subconscious, and the unseen begins arranging circumstances, events, and channels to fulfill it. To speak it again with doubt is to suggest the law has not acted, which is to withdraw faith and delay manifestation. The difference lies not in the number of words spoken, but in the spirit from which they come. The one who understands the power of certainty speaks sparingly. They know that a single phrase, when charged with unwavering belief, holds more power than 1,000 utterances born of fear. They do not rush to repeat their decree, nor do they question its fulfillment. They rest in calm assurance, knowing the word has been planted, and that the soil of the unseen is faithful to grow it. To speak once in certainty is to plant a seed and trust the process. To repeat with doubt is to dig up the seed, questioning whether it has taken root, and in doing so, one prevents it from sprouting. When one says, "Large sums of money come to me," and says it once with conviction, the subconscious receives it as fact. The unseen responds, setting into motion invisible currents that align with the statement. The word is now alive, traveling through unseen realms, gathering the elements necessary for fulfillment. There is no need to repeat, for the decree has already been issued. But when one repeats the same phrase in fear, saying it with hesitation or desperation, they are no longer affirming abundance, but instead affirming lack, suggesting that the unseen has not yet answered. The energy of doubt cancels the power of the original decree, and the flow is delayed. Certainty carries with it an unmistakable tone. It is calm, steady, and unshaken by appearances. The voice of certainty does not plead, does not beg, and does not waver. It declares as though the thing spoken is already established. This is why the unseen obeys so faithfully, for the vibration of certainty matches the reality of the unseen, where all good already exists. Doubt, however, speaks with urgency, with strain, with the sound of one who believes they are still lacking. The unseen mirrors this vibration as faithfully as it mirrors certainty, creating conditions that reflect doubt. To speak once with certainty requires faith in the law. It requires trust that the unseen is obedient and exact, that once the word is spoken, the process is already underway. Many fail to trust this law, and so they repeat endlessly, as though the unseen were deaf or indifferent. In truth, the unseen is neither deaf nor forgetful, it is precise, responding instantly to faith-filled speech. The repetition born of fear does not remind the unseen of the command. It only reveals the speaker's disbelief in the fulfillment. Faith is the assurance that one utterance is enough. The principle can be seen in every aspect of life. When a person of authority gives an instruction, it is followed without question. They do not repeat themselves, for their word carries weight. The same is true in the realm of the unseen. To speak once with certainty is to speak as one who knows their authority. To repeat with doubt is to speak as one who questions their own power. The unseen obeys the one who knows, for the vibration of certainty is irresistible. It draws the fulfillment swiftly, while doubt pushes it farther away. One must also understand that certainty is not loudness. It is not the force of volume that compels the unseen, but the inner strength of belief. A whisper spoken in faith can carry more power than a shout spoken in fear. The unseen does not measure words by sound but by vibration. A single word, quietly declared with certainty, echoes in the unseen until it brings forth results. Repetition with doubt, no matter how loud or frequent, falls empty, for the vibration of disbelief drains its power. There is wisdom in speaking once and then resting in silence. After the decree is made, one must live as though it is already true. To continue repeating it with uncertainty is to confess it has not been fulfilled. But to move forward in confidence, acting and thinking as though the word has already manifested, strengthens the vibration of certainty. The unseen responds not only to words but also to the atmosphere carried after they are spoken. A life lived in expectancy, gratitude, and assurance reinforces the word spoken once in faith, ensuring its swift fulfillment. This principle reveals the difference between commanding and begging. To command is to speak once with authority, knowing the word is law. To beg is to repeat endlessly, hoping to be heard. The unseen does not respond to begging, for begging carries the vibration of lack. It responds to commanding, for commanding carries the vibration of possession. When one commands with certainty, they declare themselves aligned with abundance. When one begs with doubt, they declare themselves separate from it. The law reflects both states faithfully. The mind that doubts seeks constant reassurance. It repeats phrases, not to affirm truth, but to soothe its own uncertainty. Yet this very repetition creates more uncertainty, for each time the phrase is spoken with doubt, the subconscious is reminded of lack. The cycle continues, and manifestation remains out of reach. But the mind that believes requires no reassurance. It speaks once, with calm certainty, and then turns its attention to gratitude, expectancy, and joy. It does not question, it does not seek proof. It simply rests in knowing. To speak once with certainty is to align fully with the principle that the unseen is always at work. It is to understand that words are not suggestions but decrees. The one who speaks in certainty knows their word cannot fail, for it is backed by divine law. They know the unseen is already arranging the path, already aligning the channels, already preparing the manifestation. Their confidence is unshaken, and so their word is fulfilled quickly. To repeat with doubt is to show mistrust in the law, and mistrust delays what certainty would have delivered. The spoken word is like a key turning a lock. Once the lock is opened, the door swings wide. There is no need to keep turning the key. To speak once with certainty is to open the door to abundance. To keep repeating with doubt is to rattle the handle endlessly, as though the door were still closed. The law of the unseen is exact and unfailing. It answers once the decree is given, but only certainty keeps the door open long enough for the fulfillment to enter. The subconscious obeys the tone of authority, for it is the silent servant of the conscious mind, receiving every command without question or hesitation. It does not reason, it does not analyze, and it does not debate. Whatever impression is given to it with conviction becomes its law, and it sets about to manifest it in the visible world. The subconscious responds not to idle words or half-hearted phrases but to the authority with which those words are spoken. A weak and uncertain command carries little weight, but a word spoken with confidence, with assurance, and with certainty is received instantly and acted upon. The subconscious is like fertile soil, ready to grow whatever seed is planted. The seed is the spoken word, and the condition of growth is determined by the authority behind it. If one speaks timidly, as though unsure of their right to abundance, the seed falls lightly and produces little. If one speaks boldly, as though declaring truth, the seed sinks deeply into the soil and begins to grow with power. The subconscious does not care whether the seed is of prosperity or lack, of health or sickness, of success or failure. It only cares how it is planted, whether with authority or with uncertainty. The tone of the command is what determines the harvest. Authority in speech is not loudness, nor is it force of personality. It is the quiet, steady confidence that comes from belief. A whisper of certainty has greater impact than a shout of fear. The subconscious hears beyond words. It feels the vibration of conviction. When the conscious mind speaks, as though what is declared is already true, the subconscious accepts it as fact and moves to bring it forth. This is why declarations spoken once with faith can carry more power than endless repetition spoken with doubt. Authority does not beg, does not plead, and does not question. It declares, and in that declaration, it commands the unseen to obey. The subconscious is impartial. It does not choose between good or bad, success or failure, wealth or poverty. It simply obeys the command given with authority. When someone says, "I can never get ahead," and speaks it with conviction, the subconscious ensures that circumstances reflect that statement. When someone says, "I am always supplied," and speaks it with equal conviction, the subconscious ensures that opportunities and resources appear. The law is exact, and it never fails. The subconscious only asks, "What is the command?" and then proceeds to fulfill it. The conscious mind, through the tone of authority, decides the direction of life. The tone of authority is cultivated through faith. When one truly believes that their words carry power, they speak with a natural authority that the subconscious cannot resist. Faith fills the voice with conviction, and that conviction is the signal that the subconscious obeys. Doubt weakens authority, for doubt produces hesitation in speech. A command given in uncertainty is like an arrow that falls short of its target. A command given in faith strikes true and sets the unseen into motion. The one who believes in their own power to speak reality into form speaks fewer words, but each word is heavy with authority. The subconscious operates constantly, shaping conditions and drawing experiences in alignment with the commands it has received. It works tirelessly, beyond waking awareness, arranging people, circumstances, and events to fulfill the law impressed upon it. This is why casual speech, careless phrases, and idle declarations carry such weight. Even when spoken without thought, words delivered with emotional charge become commands. Complaints spoken in frustration, fears voiced with intensity, doubts expressed with conviction. All of these are heard by the subconscious as authority and are acted upon. The wise therefore guard their speech, knowing that every word carries seeds of creation. Authority in speech is not only about words, but about the feeling behind them. The subconscious is moved by emotion, and emotion adds weight to the command. A declaration of abundance, spoken with joy, gratitude, and certainty, carries tremendous authority. A declaration of lack, spoken with fear, anger, or resentment, carries equal authority in the opposite direction. The subconscious obeys both with equal precision, for it does not judge, it only fulfills. This is why it is essential to speak not only words of truth, but words filled with the feeling of truth. The vibration of authority is born from the union of word and emotion. When one says, "I am wealthy," but speaks it with hesitation, the subconscious remains unmoved, for the tone lacks authority. When one says, "I am wealthy," with calm assurance, as though stating a fact already established, the subconscious accepts it without question and begins to create the outer conditions to match. Authority is not loud, forceful, or dramatic. It is steady, unwavering, and confident. It does not demand results with desperation, for desperation betrays disbelief. Authority rests in certainty, knowing the word once spoken is already fulfilled in the unseen. The subconscious is the gateway through which the unseen becomes visible, and authority is the key that unlocks it. Without authority, words fall away like seeds cast on barren ground. With authority, words sink deep and grow strong, shaping reality with precision. This is why so many fail to manifest what they desire. They speak words of hope rather than words of command. Hope lacks the vibration of authority, for it suggests uncertainty. Faith speaks with authority, for it knows. The subconscious responds to knowing, not to wishing. Life itself becomes a reflection of the authority with which one speaks. Those who carry doubt in their tone experience conditions of instability, for the subconscious mirrors their uncertainty. Those who carry faith in their tone experience conditions of strength and abundance, for the subconscious mirrors their conviction. Authority shapes every area of life: health, wealth, relationships, and opportunities, because the subconscious governs them all, drawing from the unseen to build the seen. To speak with authority is to take hold of this power and direct it consciously. The subconscious is like an obedient builder. It does not question the blueprint, it only builds. The blueprint is the word spoken with authority. If the blueprint says scarcity, it builds scarcity. If the blueprint says abundance, it builds abundance. The builder does not argue, nor does it pause to ask if the plan is wise. It simply follows. The conscious mind, through speech, hands the plan to the builder. Authority ensures that the plan is taken seriously, while doubt makes the plan weak and unstable. The result is always a perfect reflection of the command given. To cultivate authority, one must train the conscious mind to speak deliberately. This means refusing to utter words of fear or limitation, even in jest, for the subconscious does not recognize humor or exaggeration. It only recognizes vibration. It means choosing words of truth and speaking them as facts already established. It means holding the inner state of certainty, so that every word carries weight. The more one practices speaking with authority, the more natural it becomes, and the more quickly the subconscious responds. The subconscious obeys the tone of authority because authority signals alignment with divine law. The universe itself is orderly, exact, and abundant. When one speaks with authority, they align with this order, and the subconscious rushes to match that vibration in the outer world. When one speaks with doubt, they signal misalignment, and the subconscious reflects disorder, delay, and struggle. The tone of authority is therefore not an affectation, but a reflection of inner faith. It cannot be faked, for the subconscious hears beyond words and detects the true vibration beneath them. The one who understands that the subconscious obeys authority speaks sparingly but powerfully. They do not waste words, nor do they scatter their energy with idle talk. They speak only what they desire to see, and they speak at once with certainty. Their words are law to the subconscious, and their life reflects the authority with which they speak.
Welcome, everyone. Today we're diving into something truly foundational, the wisdom of Florence Scovel Shinn. Her ideas, even though they're from decades ago, feel so incredibly relevant right now, especially if you're feeling, the pressure of modern life, things like financial worries, stress about work, or just feeling overwhelmed and maybe a bit lost. What she offers is this really compassionate way to see how your inner world, how it actually creates your outer reality. And this isn't some kind of wishful thinking, it's more like a practical spiritual law that can bring, well, real clarity and peace.
It really is fascinating. And you think about when she was saying these things. I mean, after a world war, heading into the Great Depression, talk about external uncertainty, circumstances looked bleak, truly hopeless for so many people. Yet she was there talking about this inner anchor, this grounding perspective. So, yeah, our mission today is really to unpack how her wisdom helps us shift that inner landscape. Because when that changes, the outer experience has to follow.
That inner grounding, yes, that feels so crucial. Florence starts with this really profound idea that there's a world inside you, and she says it's more real, more potent, even more permanent than the world you see with your eyes open. Maybe just take a second right now and gently consider that space, that silent, sacred space within. It's like this quiet, vast landscape behind your eyes. And Florence taught that this is the control room. This is where your reality gets shaped. In that stillness, you're not a victim. You're not just reacting to things. You're the dreamer of the dream. And here's the thing, she really emphasized this inner faculty. It's more powerful than just hustling harder, right? Which just leads to burnout. It's stronger than intellect alone, which can analyze things forever but doesn't really create. And definitely more powerful than willpower, which often feels like, pushing a boulder uphill. Just exhausting.
Exactly. And that powerful faculty, that control room, it's your imagination, plain and simple. But not imagination like idle daydreams, no. These visions, the ones you hold inside, they're like living blueprints for your destiny. Yeah. This isn't just a nice metaphor, it's a spiritual principle, like gravity. What you consistently hold in your consciousness, what you really feel is reeled inside, you will eventually hold in your hand. Every big shift starts there, with a clear inner picture, one that feels absolutely real. Florence called imagination a holy faculty, the workshop of spirit, even the womb of all creation, which, naturally, leads to the big question, doesn't it? If it's that powerful, how are we actually using it day to day?
Right, that's the million dollar question. Because if imagination is the workshop, what's the rule? How does it work? Florence's core teaching is that the law isn't just getting what you want, or even only what you work for. I mean, look around. The world's full of incredibly hardworking people who feel stuck, right? Maybe that's you hitting that invisible ceiling at work or just constantly stressed about money, no matter how hard you try. The missing piece, according to Florence, isn't more effort, it's alignment. So, what does alignment mean? Simply put, you get what you are, your basic state of being, your, let's say, energetic signature, the feeling you carry inside most of the time. That's a direct reflection of what you consistently, faithfully imagine yourself to be. Your life right now is like a 3D printout of your deepest inner conversations and your most frequent mental images.
That's so crucial because honestly, most of us are creating completely by default. We're like these master painters, given this incredible power. And we're just splattering paint everywhere with worried thoughts, fearful projections. We paint these detailed scenes of arguments before they happen, or rejection, or lack. And then we stand back and wonder, why is my life such a mess? Florence was crystal clear. Every fear is a prayer in reverse. Think about that. To fear something intensely is actually an imaginal act, a very powerful one, worrying constantly about your kids. You're wrapping them in that fearful energy, imagining not having enough money. You're rehearsing that. She also said, the imagination is the scissors of the mind. I love that. Imagine this infinite fabric of potential just waiting. And with every thought you charge with strong emotion, fear, anger, anxiety, you're cutting out patterns. Patterns of failure, loneliness, struggle, the scissors, the fabric. They just obey the design you hold in your mind's eye.
Wow, fear's a prayer in reverse. That just hits home, doesn't it? And the point isn't to beat ourselves up for having negative thoughts. That's impossible and frankly just adds more stress. It's about developing this gentle, compassionate awareness. Realizing you're not just some actor reading lines someone else wrote. No, you're the writer, you're the director, you're casting the whole show. And the good news, you can revise the script anytime. Just think for a moment, how has this maybe been playing out unseen in your own life? Lying awake at 3 a.m., heart pounding, planning for the worst case scenario. That difficult chat, the bills, the health worry, you're not just worrying, you're actively creating a negative blueprint. You're rehearsing disaster. Or when you keep replaying old hurts, that time you were betrayed or criticized or rejected, you're not just remembering, you're telling your body, telling the universe, keep this wound alive, keep this pattern going. We're actually experts at this unconscious creation, aren't we?
We really are. So the invitation, the shift, is to start using this incredible power deliberately, consciously. Let's make it practical. Say there's a woman and she deeply wants a loving, secure relationship, but her past is full of abandonment fears. Her work isn't just wishing for love, it's stopping the replay of those old horror films in her mind. It's consciously directing a new scene, imagining, feeling the simple safety, the quiet peace, being loved and celebrated for exactly who she is. It's about getting familiar with the feeling of being cherished, so that becomes her default state, her inner home. Or maybe it's a man stuck in debt. His mind automatically replays images of bills, fear, lack, his work, to consciously create a new inner atmosphere, to imagine the feeling of relief, all debts paid, logging into his bank account and feeling peace, feeling freedom, maybe even generosity. He doesn't need to obsess about the how right now. He needs to practice the what, the feeling of financial peace. This is that inner alchemy Florence talked about, changing your very essence, your core feeling state. And from that, a new world emerges.
Okay, that sounds amazing. But let's be real. Florence also talked about the tricky part, right? That space between planting the seed, holding that new vision, and actually seeing it sprout in the outside world. She called it the sacred lag time or the divine pause. Yeah, it's like you're that trapeze artist. You've let go of the old bar, you're flying through the air, but you haven't grabbed the next one yet. That moment, that void, it demands serious faith in what you can't yet see and your logical mind. Oh, we'll freak out. It'll scream, see, nothing's happening. This is stupid. You're just fooling yourself. If it'll point to all the proof, the bank balance hasn't changed, the phone hasn't rung, the symptoms are still there.
Absolutely. And your job, your sacred task in that moment, is not to believe that voice of doubt. It's to anchor your faith firmly in the reality of your new inner world, the one you're building with your imagination. You have to give more weight, more truth, more loyalty to what's happening within you than what seems to be happening without. And here's something really important to understand. What if things seem to get worse during this time? That can happen. And it's often what Florence's students call the holy demolition. As your inner vibration, your core feeling state, starts to rise as you feel more peace, more deserving, more aligned with abundance, anything in your life that doesn't match that new frequency has to go. Maybe a relationship that was based on codependency falls apart, or a job that was draining your soul suddenly ends, or even a health issue flares up to be cleared. From a spiritual view, this isn't failure, it's confirmation. The universe is clearing the ground for the new house you're building inside. Don't mistake the noise of demolition for defeat. It's the sound of progress.
That's such a powerful reframe the sound of demolition as progress, trusting that even when it feels chaotic.
Exactly. You have to cross that chasm sometimes with blind faith, holding on to nothing but the feeling of the reality you've chosen within. You're basically unbecoming everything that was never truly you, so that you can finally be who you were always meant to be.
Bringing it all together, then, Florence wasn't just teaching manifestation in a superficial way, she taught mental precision.
Hmm.
Most people, let's face it, create by default. We just react. We think the same worried thoughts day after day, feel the same fears, tell the same old stories about why things are the way they are, about money, relationships, work, and then we wonder why nothing ever changes. But the truth she revealed is that the world mirrors you. Your inner state is reflected back. So the key insight is when you consciously hold an image daily, deliberately, with feeling, with unwavering clarity, you start to shift the reflection. You turn the tide. Most of us wait for outer proof before we'll believe something is possible. Florence taught the exact opposite. You believe first. You imagine first. You act as if it's already true, even in small ways. And then the evidence shows up in your world. It's like inner engineering.
And it's amazing how many people have actually lived this. You mentioned Neville Guard earlier. He literally imagined holding his steamship ticket to New York, feeling the reality of being there, even with no money. And boom, the means appeared. His whole thing was living in the end. You don't chase it, you become it internally first. Or think about J.K. Rowling, single mom, on benefits, writing in cafes. But she had this incredibly vivid inner world, Hogwarts, that felt more real to her than her circumstances. 12 rejections for Harry Potter. But her inner reality, her vision, didn't waver. It just shows imagination creates reality. Isn't passive wishing, it's discipline. It's consistently giving more importance, more reality to your inner vision than to the outer facts. So imagine yourself showing up differently, calmer in that stressful meeting, more certain about your finances. Imagine feeling peace where you usually feel panic, abundance where you usually feel fear. You don't just visit this vision like a tourist, you learn to live in it. Because repetition builds belief. Belief shapes how you act. And how you act creates your reality. So the question really becomes, what are you feeding your subconscious mind today? Is it worry, doubt, and regret? Or is it vision, clarity, and peace?
So maybe the biggest takeaway from Florence Scovel Shinn is just how empowered we actually are. The power's been right here, inside us all along. The blueprint is in our minds, the feeling is in our hearts. It changes everything when you really grasp that, doesn't it? Imagination isn't just some fluffy, nice to have gift. It's a responsibility, it's profound. It's this sacred inner space where you get to rehearse your victory, not your defeat, especially around things that matter like your well being, your finances, your purpose. The tool is already in your hands. You are the creator.
The only question left is, will you use it consciously? And this isn't about just trying to feel good for 5 minutes. It's deeper. It's about becoming someone you truly recognize, someone you trust to handle life with grace, wisdom, and inner peace. So we really encourage you to continue this journey of intentional living, cultivating that inner world of peace and divine supply. And if this deep dive resonated, you'd like to explore this more visually, definitely check out the related video. You can click on the end screen or use the link in the description.
Before any miracle appears in your life, it begins in silence. The silent word is the seed of manifestation, the thought that vibrates before it takes form, the invisible whisper that stirs the universe into movement. Florence Scovel Shinn would say, "The game of life is played with words." But she also knew that the most powerful words are not always spoken aloud. They are breathed through the spirit, silently, secretly, faithfully. When you speak in silence, you speak directly to the divine mind, bypassing fear, bypassing logic, and entering the pure realm of creation itself. There is a moment before the dawn, a hush before the miracle. In that quiet, your soul speaks in frequencies the outer world cannot hear. Every word you think is a vibration, and vibration is creative. The Bible says, "In the beginning was the Word, not the sound." The Word existed in thought before it echoed into reality. Your inner dialogue is your first creation. The outer world merely follows the blueprint. So if you wish to attract abundance, if you wish to win the lottery or call in sudden wealth, you must first master the language of silence. The law of the silent word teaches that not all speech requires sound. Sound is only the shadow of thought. The true power lies in the idea formed in faith. What you hold silently in conviction becomes louder in the unseen world than any shout could ever be. The universe responds to frequency, not volume. So when you silently repeat a word filled with faith, the divine hears it as thunder. Think of the earth itself. Seeds are buried in darkness, beneath layers of stillness, unseen by the eye. Yet, within that silence, life is taking shape. The roots are spreading, the soil is warming, the seed is transforming into a force ready to break through the surface. So it is with your words. When you hold a thought of prosperity in your mind, quietly, lovingly, and consistently, you are planting a divine seed in the soil of your soul. And the law promises, what is planted in faith must bloom in form. Many people believe that to manifest wealth, they must work harder, push louder, or hustle longer. But the truth is this: the universe is not moved by noise, it is moved by energy. You can work yourself to exhaustion, but if your thoughts are filled with worry and lack, you repel the very abundance you chase. Yet a person sitting quietly, eyes closed, silently repeating a phrase of divine order and grace, aligns with the entire machinery of creation. That one thought can call forth 1,000 opportunities. That one silent decree can move heaven and earth to deliver what belongs to you by divine right. So, when you speak silently before the lottery, you are not just wishing for luck. You are declaring divine law. You are aligning your vibration with the frequency of abundance. You are saying to the universe, I believe before I see, and belief, spoken in silence, is the loudest declaration of faith. The divine does not respond to begging, only to knowing. When you know, you no longer chase, you attract. You no longer plead, you expect. In this law, silence is not emptiness. It is fullness waiting to express. It is the pause where miracles are conceived. Most people fill their silence with fear, replaying doubts like broken records. What if I lose? What if I fail? What if it doesn't happen for me? But the one who understands divine law fills their silence with certainty. I already have it. It is done. It is mine under grace. Remember, the mind is a magnet. Every thought you hold long enough attracts its own likeness. If you hold thoughts of struggle, you magnetize lack. But if you hold thoughts of divine supply, wealth begins to flow to you in perfect order. Florence often said, man can only receive what he sees himself receiving. So, see yourself winning, not with desperation, but with calm assurance. Not with pride, but with gratitude. See yourself standing in divine light, the check already written in the unseen, waiting for the right moment to appear. Your silent words are creating your reality right now. Every quiet thought is a prayer. Every feeling is an order placed with the universe. So choose your inner words wisely. When you say within, I am blessed, you are speaking a command that heaven must obey. When you say within, money flows to me with ease, divine law begins to rearrange the outer world to match your vibration. You may not see it yet, but the energy is moving. People, places, and opportunities are aligning to bring you what you have silently decreed. Do not underestimate the still moment before you speak. The outer world might say, it's impossible. The facts may seem against you. But divine law is not moved by odds. It is moved by obedience to faith. Your task is not to figure out how it will happen. It is to hold the vibration that it already has. The moment you believe silently, without resistance, the miracle begins. Florence said, your word is your wand. But your silent word is your invisible wand, the one that works quietly while you rest. It moves through the spiritual substance of the universe and returns multiplied. When you repeat a silent affirmation such as, I am one with the divine mind of wealth, you awaken divine intelligence to act on your behalf. Money begins to appear through channels you never considered. A sudden refund, a forgotten investment, a random opportunity, a lottery win that seems coincidental but was divinely timed. Faith spoken in silence is never lost. The divine hears every unspoken word, even the sigh that says, I trust you, carries creative power. So today, close your eyes, breathe deeply, let go of all resistance. In the quiet of your heart, speak the truth. I am abundant. I am aligned with divine supply. My wealth is unfolding in perfect timing. Then stay still, let the energy move. You have already planted the seed. The law of the silent word has heard you. And what you have whispered within will soon echo without. Because heaven listens best when you speak in faith, and sometimes, the loudest prayer is the one said in silence. There is a sacred power in silence, not only in the words you speak within, but also in the secrets you keep guarded by faith. The divine does not ask you to announce your miracles before they are born. It asks you to protect them, nurture them, and allow them to grow in the hidden chambers of your heart until the appointed hour of manifestation. Florence Scovel Shinn called this the energy of secrecy, the holy protection that surrounds a dream when it is spoken only to God. Every divine idea is like a newborn flame. If you expose it too soon to the cold winds of doubt and disbelief, it can flicker out before it has taken form. That is why, when you are calling in abundance, especially something powerful and unexpected, such as a lottery win or a sudden inflow of money, you must learn to move in quiet faith. You do not need to announce it, explain it, or defend it. You simply need to know it. The energy of secrecy is faith in motion. It is the refusal to let fear, criticism, or disbelief interfere with your vibration. When a seed is planted, it is covered by the earth. It is not hidden because it is weak, but because it is sacred. In darkness, it draws nourishment. In stillness, it grows. The same divine law applies to your manifestations. The silent period is not delay, it is incubation. Every great manifestation begins unseen, unspoken, unknown to the world, but alive in spirit. The Bible says, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." The secret place is not a physical location. It is a state of consciousness where you and God commune privately, where your desire is kept holy until it becomes visible. Most people destroy their manifestations by speaking them too early. They tell others of their plans, their affirmations, their expectations, and then receive back words of doubt disguised as advice. That's impossible. Don't get your hopes up. Nobody wins that easily. And without realizing it, they let the disbelief of others seep into their faith. The divine power that was quietly gathering loses its momentum. That is why Florence warned, never voice your plan prematurely. The energy of secrecy keeps your spiritual garden free from the weeds of doubt. When you are working with divine law, you do not need validation. You do not need applause. You do not need anyone to agree with your dream. God is your only witness, and that is enough. Speak your word in the unseen, hold your faith in silence, and allow the universe to do its perfect work without interruption. The true believer walks in calm assurance, saying within, "It is already done, and I do not need the world to know until it appears." Understand this truth: your silence is not hiding, it is hallowing. It is setting apart your vision as sacred. Every time you keep your divine decree to yourself, you strengthen its vibration. You hold the energy close, and it becomes concentrated. Energy that is scattered through idle talk loses its charge, but energy that is contained through secrecy multiplies in intensity until it bursts forth into form. Imagine a caterpillar in its cocoon. It does not announce its transformation. It withdraws in silence, trusting the process. It surrenders to the darkness because it knows it is not death. It is rebirth. The butterfly does not need to prove that it is becoming beautiful. It simply emerges when the work within is finished. So too must you learn to stay within your spiritual cocoon of secrecy until the manifestation is complete. When you feel guided to manifest a financial breakthrough, perhaps you desire to attract $10,000 or a sudden lottery blessing or a miraculous opportunity. Guard that desire like a treasure. Do not tell it to those who cannot see what you see. Not everyone carries the vibration of belief. Some people unknowingly speak the language of limitation, and if you let their words mix with your faith, you dilute your power. Remember, your manifestation is not a group project. It is a divine covenant between you and God. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Man's word is his wand, but your wand works best in secrecy." Every magician performs his act unseen before he steps onto the stage. Every architect builds the plan before the building rises. Every miracle is completed in spirit before it is witnessed by man. So when you silently repeat your 7 words, under grace, in perfect divine order, now, you are not speaking them for the approval of others. You are activating divine mechanics that operate far beyond human understanding. There will be moments when your outer world seems quiet, when nothing appears to be happening. Do not mistake that stillness for absence. The energy of secrecy means the universe is rearranging itself behind the scenes. The people who must meet you, the doors that must open, the timing that must align, all are being set in motion while you remain in peace. Your task is not to explain the process, your task is to hold the vibration. The more you keep your faith to yourself, the more power it gathers. When you tell everyone what you are manifesting, you spread your energy thin. But when you keep it sacred, you condense your energy into a beam so focused that the divine cannot help but respond. The silence between you and your desire becomes electric. It hums with expectancy. The divine mind listens closely to a believer who trusts without proof, who whispers in secret yet knows the result is guaranteed. So, before the lottery draw, or before the moment you expect your breakthrough, withdraw into your sacred silence. Sit quietly, breathe slowly, and speak your 7 words within. Do not tell anyone what you are doing. You are not hiding a secret. You are protecting a miracle. You are wrapping your manifestation in divine grace until it is strong enough to stand in the light. Say softly within, "My miracle is unfolding in divine secrecy. I do not announce it, I embody it. I do not chase it, I magnetize it. I move in silence, and the universe moves in power." Hold that vibration until peace replaces impatience. Feel the divine warmth of assurance flow through your body. Know that what you have asked for has already been assigned to you in heaven's ledger. The energy of secrecy has activated the law of divine timing. And soon, what was whispered in faith will be shouted by joy. Because the greatest miracles are born in silence and revealed only when the world is ready to see the glory that was once hidden in your heart. There comes a divine moment in every seeker's journey when heaven opens the veil and reveals a sacred code. Not a code of chance, but a code of law. Not a prayer of desperation, but a decree of certainty. In the realm of manifestation, words are not casual. They are creative commands. The universe listens not to what you hope, but to what you declare in conviction. And tonight, in the quiet of your own faith, these 7 words will be revealed to you. Words so powerful, so complete, that when spoken in silence, they awaken the very structure of divine supply itself. These are not new words. They are eternal, ancient, woven through every miracle story ever told. Prophets have felt their vibration. Mystics have used them to command abundance, peace, and perfect timing. Florence Scovel Shinn herself spoke of them often, not as superstition, but as spiritual mathematics, the precise formula that aligns human desire with divine order. And these 7 words are, under grace, in perfect divine order. Now, whisper them gently. Let them roll through your spirit like a sacred current. Don't rush them. Let each word rest inside you as a vibration of truth. Because these are not words to be recited. They are keys to the invisible kingdom. Each one carries a frequency that rearranges energy, thought and matter according to divine precision. Under grace. To live under grace means to move beyond struggle. Grace is the law above the law. It is the divine override that cancels karma, softens consequences, and allows miracles to arrive without effort or harm. When you say under grace, you are declaring, "I no longer attract through fear or force. I receive through peace and alignment." It is your way of saying, "Let my blessing come without resistance, without loss, without sorrow." Florence taught that grace is the secret to effortless manifestation, the law that ensures your good comes clean, perfect, and blessed for all involved. When you say under grace, the divine mind begins to reorganize circumstances in your favor. The path that seemed blocked begins to open. The people who were distant begin to remember your name. Money, opportunity, and favor begin to flow, not through striving, but through surrender. You no longer push the door. You let it swing open on the hinges of grace. Imperfect. Perfection is not flawlessness. It is divine harmony. To say imperfect is to align your life with the original pattern of God's design. You are saying, let this unfold without distortion. Everything in the divine mind operates in symmetry and order. The stars, the seasons, the heartbeat, all obey a perfect rhythm. When your manifestation flows in perfect order, it does not come too soon or too late. It arrives in the exact moment you can receive it. Many people rush the process. They speak their affirmation, then look around in panic, asking, "Where is it? Why hasn't it come?" But perfection does not hurry. It arrives in divine timing. When you say imperfect, you are calling forth balance. You are trusting that what is meant for you will never require force. It will fit like destiny finding its place. Divine order. These are the 2 most organizing words in the universe. Divine order is the invisible blueprint of creation, the structure behind every miracle. It is what turns chaos into clarity, delay into direction, confusion into confirmation. When you declare in perfect divine order, you are invoking the highest alignment. You are saying, "I trust that every event, every detour, every silence is guiding me toward the manifestation of my desire." Florence often said, "Everything comes through divine order. Man must not be anxious. He must stand still and see the salvation of the Lord." Divine order is the proof that even your waiting is working. When you lose a job, when plans shift, when money delays, Divine order is rearranging the stage so your blessing can enter at the right cue. You do not need to understand it. You only need to trust it. When the seed is underground, divine order is at work. When the clock seems still, divine order is ticking. When you feel nothing, divine order is weaving. Everything that concerns you has already been set in divine sequence. The door will open not by chance, but by appointment. Now. The word now completes the circle of creation. It is the trigger that activates the unseen. The divine does not operate in the past or the future. It exists only in the eternal present. When you say now, you call the power of the infinite into this moment. You remove delay, you dissolve waiting, and you claim your blessing as already done. Most people push their miracles into the future. Someday I'll win, someday I'll prosper, someday I'll be free. But someday is not a frequency the divine can only respond to now. So when you whisper now, you collapse time. You draw the energy of fulfillment from the future into the present, and manifestation begins to accelerate. Say it softly within you, under grace, in perfect divine order, now. Let it echo through your chest. Feel it hum behind your ribs. These words are not only affirmations, they are commands. They speak to the cells of your body, to the laws of attraction, to the angels assigned to your path. They declare your readiness to receive. Repeat them silently under grace. I release control. In perfect, I allow harmony. Divine order, I trust the plan. Now, I receive it in this moment. Each time you speak this silently, your vibration lifts higher. The old energy of fear begins to dissolve. The current of ease takes its place. What once felt distant begins to draw near. The universe, obedient to divine law, begins to match your frequency with visible form. You do not have to understand how it works. You only need to feel it. The divine mind does not need your logic, it needs your surrender. You are not forcing reality, you are aligning with it. Every time you whisper these words, heaven records your decree. The law is set in motion. Invisible forces begin their work. There is something holy about these 7 words. They are like a spiritual password that unlocks the vault of divine abundance. They contain surrender, harmony, order, and immediacy. The 4 pillars of effortless manifestation. Speak them silently before any important event, before a decision, before the lottery, before sleep, before any moment of uncertainty. Each time, you reaffirm that your life is guided by a higher rhythm. When Florence spoke these words, she was never begging, she was declaring. She said them as one who knew the law, not one hoping it might work. That is the difference between hope and faith. Hope waits, faith declares. And when you declare in silence, the universe moves in stillness to bring you visible results. Whisper them one more time under grace, in perfect divine order now. Pause. Feel the vibration moving through you. You have just spoken to the fabric of creation. The divine has heard. The law has been activated. And what you have said in secret is already being fulfilled in spirit. The 7 words are alive. They will follow you, protect you, and guide your supply to you. Repeat them not as a ritual, but as remembrance. You are not asking for a miracle. You are commanding divine law to express through you. Because everything that belongs to you, every dollar, every opportunity, every blessing, already exists in the divine mind. These words simply open the gate. And now, it begins to flow. Faith is the invisible bridge between what you desire and what you can touch. It is the hand that reaches into the unseen and brings substance into sight. Florence Scovel Shinn called faith the master key of life, because it opens doors that logic cannot. She taught that faith knows it has already received and acts accordingly. That is the law of faith before evidence, believing it is done before the world shows you proof. The outer world is slow, but the inner world is instantaneous. The moment you believe, the law begins to rearrange your life in silence. There is a difference between wishing and knowing. Wishing says, I hope it happens. Knowing says, it already has. The universe only answers knowing. When you are filled with faith, you are no longer asking the divine to create something new. You are acknowledging what already exists in the invisible realm. You are not waiting for the miracle. You are walking toward it as though it is already yours. That invisible confidence changes everything. It draws your desire out of the unseen and anchors it into form. This is the same law that governs all manifestation, whether it's healing, love, or abundance. You do not wait to see before you believe. You believe until you see. Florence would say, man must act as if he has already received. That is not pretending, that is aligning. The energy of faith precedes evidence. Every dollar you want, every opportunity you seek, already exists in divine mind. Faith is the vibration that calls it forth. When you silently say, under grace, in perfect divine order now, with full faith, you are not just repeating words. You are sending out a spiritual frequency that tells the universe, I know it's done. The divine responds to that tone like an echo returning from eternity. But when you speak with doubt, with fear, with inner contradiction, your vibration scatters. The divine cannot deliver to a divided heart. The energy must be consistent. Think of it like tuning a radio. If you are on the wrong frequency, you hear static. But the moment you match the signal, the music comes through clearly. Faith is that tuning. When your belief vibrates in harmony with your desire, the manifestation can flow without interruption. You become the living receiver of what already belongs to you. The law of faith before evidence asks you to believe when there is no reason to believe. When the bank account is low, when the opportunity looks impossible, when logic says no. Faith is not built for easy times. It is designed for the gap between promise and proof. When you stand firm in that gap, refusing to waver, you activate divine law. The invisible begins to move. The angels take flight. The vibration of abundance starts seeking its physical form. The mind that doubts delays its miracle. But the mind that knows attracts speed. You may not see the path, but faith says, the path is already prepared. You may not know how the money will appear, but faith whispers, the supply is already assigned. You may not see your win yet, but faith smiles and says, it is already written. A Florence once told a story of a woman who prayed for money and said, I'll believe when I see it. Florence corrected her gently. You'll see it when you believe it. The woman shifted her thoughts, began to affirm silently that her supply was already released, and within days, the exact amount came through an unexpected source. Nothing magical, just divine law obeying faith. So, when you speak your 7 words in silence before the lottery, don't do it from a place of hope. Do it from a place of knowing. You are not trying to win, you are claiming what is already yours by divine right. The money you seek exists. The supply you desire is already circulating. The moment you believe, it begins to recognize you. Faith has a fragrance, a sound, a vibration. It announces to the universe that you are ready. When you hold faith long enough, your environment begins to rearrange to match it. Conversations shift, numbers align, timing changes, doors appear. You don't force anything, it unfolds. Because the divine mind responds instantly to the vibration of certainty. Every time you doubt, you push your manifestation further away. Every time you believe again, you pull it closer. That's why Florence said, never forget that faith brings what you need in the twinkling of an eye. It's not about time. It's about alignment. When your vibration stabilizes in faith, the time between thought and form collapses. Miracles speed up. So how do you practice faith before evidence? You act like it's already true. You give thanks as if it already happened. You feel relief instead of worry. You speak as one who already has the thing. You stop checking the clock, because faith lives outside of time. You stop watching the numbers, because faith knows the result is guaranteed. Say within you, I already hold the winning vibration. My blessing is secured under grace. I do not chase. I receive. Feel that truth in your chest. You are not waiting for proof. Proof is waiting for you. The moment your mind stops doubting, the physical world rushes to catch up. Faith before evidence is like the warmth before sunrise. The light is coming. You can feel it even when it's still dark. That is the beauty of this law. You don't need to see the sun to know it's rising. The same is true of your manifestation. When you feel the calm certainty inside, that's your sign that it's already in motion. Do not mistake silence for absence. The divine is never still. It is always orchestrating the perfect alignment. While you sleep, it moves people, events, and opportunities on your behalf. Your faith gives the universe permission to act. Doubt tells it to stop. Faith says, continue, it is safe to deliver. So, tonight, as you close your eyes and whisper your 7 words, under grace, in perfect divine order now. Do not wait for evidence. Know that it has already been given. Act as if you've already received the divine message of confirmation. Smile as if you already hold the winning ticket, not because you're pretending, but because you are aligning. Faith is seeing the unseen. Faith is owning what others cannot yet imagine. Faith is silence that speaks louder than fear, and when you stand in that vibration, your manifestation cannot resist you. Remember, the divine works through laws, not luck. Faith activates those laws with precision. The more you believe without evidence, the faster the evidence will appear. That is the eternal rhythm of creation: thought first, then form; word first, then wealth; faith first, then fulfillment. So, speak it in silence, and let your heart rest. The moment you said the words, the law began its work. You need not worry about when or how. The divine clock is never late. Hold your faith steady, and the evidence will arrive in perfect divine order, not by chance, but by certainty. Because faith does not wait for proof. Faith creates the proof. Before the divine can deliver, the human mind must be ready to receive. You cannot pour new wine into an old vessel, nor can you hold abundance in a consciousness still filled with fear, doubt, and limitation. Florence Scovel Shinn often said, "Man must prepare for the thing he asks for when there isn't the slightest sign of it in sight." That is the law of preparation. The sacred act of making space in your mind, heart, and spirit for the miracle you have already claimed. You see, it is one thing to speak the word, but another to hold the vibration that can contain it. Many people pray for wealth while still vibrating lack. They repeat affirmations for abundance while secretly fearing bills, feeling unworthy of success, or doubting that good things can happen easily. But divine supply cannot flow into a closed vessel. If your consciousness is filled with anxiety, comparison, or disbelief, the channel is blocked. The universe may be trying to pour blessings into your life, but your cup overflows with worry instead of faith. Preparing to receive means emptying that cup. It means releasing every thought that contradicts your divine inheritance. It means letting go of struggle, guilt, and unworthiness, and replacing them with a quiet knowing that you are already chosen, already supported, already provided for. You cannot receive what you secretly reject. You cannot magnetize what you mentally resist. The divine does not withhold, it waits for readiness. So how do you prepare? You begin by cleansing your inner language. Every day, listen to the words you speak within. Are they words of lack or words of life? Do you say, "I never have enough"? Or do you silently declare, "My supply is endless"? Do you think, "Nothing ever works out for me"? Or do you affirm, "Everything unfolds in perfect divine order"? The universe hears your inner dialogue as commands. Your consciousness is the magnet, and your thoughts are the current. To prepare means to align both with divine frequency. Florence called this mental house cleaning. She would tell her students to sweep out the dust of fear and polish the mirrors of faith. She believed that every mind is like a spiritual room. What you keep in it determines what kind of energy you live in. You cannot decorate your mental home with poverty and expect abundance to visit. You must rearrange your inner environment to match the vibration of wealth, joy, and ease. To prepare the consciousness is also to imagine without limitation. Visualization is not fantasy, it is spiritual rehearsal. When you see yourself already in possession of your desire, you begin to shape your vibration to match that reality. Florence would say, "Man can only receive what he sees himself receiving." So close your eyes and see it, the quiet confidence of holding the winning number, the joy of financial freedom, the peace of never worrying again. Don't force the image, feel it. Feel the relief, the gratitude, the expansion in your chest as though it were happening now. The feeling is the proof of readiness. There is a divine reason the feeling comes before the form. It prepares your energy to match the frequency of your blessing. Emotion is energy in motion. Gratitude, peace, and faith are the highest currencies of manifestation. When you live in them, The divine recognizes you as an open vessel. You become like a tuned instrument, ready for the song of abundance to play through you. Florence often reminded her students, nothing stands between man and his highest good but his own fear and doubt. To prepare the consciousness is to remove those barriers layer by layer. Replace every fearful thought with an affirmation of truth. I am worthy of divine wealth. I am safe to receive large sums of money. I am guided by divine intelligence in all things. I receive without guilt, for my prosperity blesses the world. But each statement expands the boundaries of your consciousness. It stretches your capacity to hold more light, more supply, more joy. When you affirm these truths in silence, you are not convincing yourself. You are commanding your subconscious mind to align with divine law. And the subconscious, once impressed, will work day and night to manifest what you decree. Preparation is also physical. Just as a farmer tills the soil before planting, you must arrange your outer life to match your inner expectation. Clean your environment, organize your finances, make room for more to flow in. If you are believing for $10,000, create a plan for what you will do with it under grace. When the divine sees that you have prepared the vessel, it fills it. This is not superstition, it is spiritual efficiency. God does not send rain where there are no seeds. Becoming ready to receive also means detaching from how it will come. Many people limit the divine by outlining every detail. It must happen this way, through this person, at this time. But preparation is not control, it is surrender. You prepare the soil, but you do not dictate the weather. You set the table, but you let the universe choose the feast. The how belongs to divine intelligence, not to human reasoning. When you truly prepare, you release the need to manage the process. You simply know it will come, and that knowing creates peace. Repeat within you, I am ready to receive. My mind is open. My heart is clear. My channels are prepared. I am one with divine supply. Feel the energy shift as you say it silently. The divine hears readiness as music. It moves faster toward the soul that says, yes, without hesitation. Readiness is not about waiting. It is about vibrating at the level of the answer. When your energy matches the blessing, you draw it in naturally. The law of preparation transforms the receiver as much as it transforms the reality. You begin to think like abundance, act like abundance, and move like abundance. Every step you take carries a quiet certainty. I am prepared for my miracle. And when you are prepared, manifestation becomes inevitable. Florence would often quote the verse, enlarge the place of thy tent, and let them stretch forth the curtains of thine habitations, spare not, lengthen thy cords, and strengthen thy stakes. She explained that this meant to prepare in faith, to act as if the blessing were already on its way. If you desire more, make space for more. If you expect wealth, think and live as one who is already wealthy in consciousness. This preparation is not pride, it is partnership with the divine. You are saying to God, I trust you so completely that I am ready even before I see. That readiness is the magnet of miracles. So tonight, as you whisper your 7 words in secret, under grace, in perfect divine order now, let those words find a home in a prepared heart, a heart uncluttered by fear, a mind washed clean of doubt, a spirit wide open to receive the infinite. The divine cannot resist readiness. It rushes in to fill the space you have made. And as you rest in that awareness, know this, the miracle is already assigned, the supply already flowing, the timing already perfect. Your only work was to make room. And now, because you have prepared your consciousness to receive, divine order will take care of the rest. For readiness is faith in action, and every prepared soul becomes a magnet for the blessings heaven has long been waiting to give. Money, in its truest form, is not paper, metal, or digits on a screen. It is spiritual substance in motion. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that there is no separation between the material and the divine, because everything seen is first created from the unseen. The bills you hold, the checks you deposit, the opportunities that bring you income, all are physical expressions of an invisible truth, divine substance made visible through faith. To the untrained eye, money seems worldly, even unspiritual. But to those who understand divine law, money is simply the language through which the universe speaks abundance. It is energy shaped into form, proof that thought becomes matter. Florence often said, "There is no lack in divine mind. If there is no lack in the source, there can be no lack in the expression." Money, therefore, is not evil, not elusive. It is obedient. It flows toward faith and away from fear. It is drawn to the one who honors it as divine energy, not the one who worships it or despises it. When you understand money as spiritual substance, everything changes. You stop chasing it and start aligning with it. You stop worrying about how much and start focusing on how aligned. Money is not earned by stress. It is attracted by consciousness. The vibration of lack repels it, but the vibration of gratitude magnetizes it. The divine law is simple: what you appreciate expands, and what you criticize contracts. So if you look at your bank account with worry, you are saying to money, "You are not enough." But if you bless it, no matter how little, you are saying, "I honor the divine in this form, and I know more is on its way." Every dollar carries a vibration. It remembers where it came from and seeks the next person whose energy matches its frequency. When you spend in fear, money senses it and moves away. When you give in joy, it multiplies and returns. That is why Florence encouraged giving as a spiritual act, not out of duty but out of faith. She said, "The game of life is a game of boomerangs. Man's thoughts, deeds, and words return to him sooner or later with astounding accuracy. When you give under grace, you prove your faith in divine supply, and the law of circulation ensures that what you send out must come back multiplied." Think of money as light. When light passes through a window, the glass does not own the light. It simply allows it to shine through. You, too, are a window for divine substance. You are not the source, you are the channel. Money flows through you, not to you. And when you release the fear of losing it, you keep that channel open. The tighter you hold, the more you block the current. The more you trust, the freer it flows. Florence called this the law of non-resistance. She taught that money loves order, peace, and purpose. It avoids chaos, anxiety, and greed. When you think of money as holy energy, you treat it differently. You organize it with gratitude, you spend it with intention, you invest it with wisdom, and you give it with joy. You stop saying, "I can't afford that," and start declaring, "It's not in divine order for me at this time, but my supply is unlimited." That statement holds dignity, not despair. It keeps your vibration high and your channel clear. Money does not come from jobs, people, or luck. Those are channels, not sources. The source is divine. When one door closes, divine law opens another. Florence reminded her students, the supply is always there, awaiting man's recognition of it. Your awareness is the faucet. Turn it on, and the flow begins. Forget that, and you live as though you were thirsty in the middle of an ocean. To prepare yourself for divine wealth, begin to speak differently about money. Every time you touch it, bless it. Every time you pay a bill, say within, "This money blesses all it touches and returns to me multiplied under grace." When you receive, say, "I am grateful for this divine energy circulating through my life." Speak to it as if it were alive, because it is. Everything created from divine substance carries consciousness. Money responds to the way you feel about it. Florence once shared a powerful truth. Man must become a magnet for supply. He must give perfect faith to the idea of abundance. That faith turns every dollar into a seed. When planted in gratitude, it multiplies. When buried in fear, it withers. If you think money is scarce, it hides. If you think money is divine, it seeks you. The divine mind cannot pour its riches into a vessel that condemns wealth. Therefore, love money as you would love sunlight, not for what it can buy, but for what it represents, the eternal flow of divine energy through you. There are people who earn vast sums yet live in quiet poverty because their consciousness is still bound by fear. And there are others with modest incomes who attract continuous miracles because they understand the energy behind their supply. The difference is not circumstance, it is vibration. To live in abundance, you must think as abundance thinks. You must feel as abundance feels. You must recognize that every coin, every bill, Every digital balance is spirit condensed into matter, waiting to be commanded by your faith. When you whisper your 7 sacred words, under grace, in perfect divine order, now, you are commanding money to take its rightful place in divine harmony. You are reminding it that it belongs to you by divine right, not through struggle, but through spiritual law. You are not pleading for it. You are summoning it in perfect order. That decree removes the energy of lack and replaces it with calm authority. There is no shame in desiring wealth. The divine created prosperity for expression, not deprivation. Florence said, God's ideas come clothed in plenty. Lack does not glorify spirit, it denies it. The flowers do not apologize for blooming. The stars do not hide their light. And you should not dim your abundance to make others comfortable. True wealth blesses everyone it touches. When you prosper, you become a vessel through which grace flows outward. Your wealth heals others because it was gained in alignment with divine law. Say within you now, money is divine energy. It flows to me and through me with ease. I use it wisely, love it freely, and release it joyfully. I am a clear channel for divine supply. Feel the light of that statement. It changes your frequency instantly. The divine substance begins to recognize your voice. The current of supply strengthens. The people, ideas, and opportunities that hold your blessing begin to move toward you like rivers returning to the sea. Money, when understood as spiritual substance, becomes a friend, a partner, a teacher. It reveals your level of faith and reflects your inner beliefs. When you are at peace with it, it multiplies. When you fear it, it hides. When you honor it, it serves. The divine never meant for you to struggle for supply. You are meant to command it, lovingly, wisely, silently, through the law of faith and the vibration of gratitude. Every dollar that enters your life carries a message. The divine is still flowing through you. Bless it, use it well, and let it return in greater measure. The more you circulate it in harmony, the faster it multiplies, because spiritual substance expands where it is loved. And so, from this moment forward, see money not as an object to chase, but as divine light in motion. You do not earn it, you attract it. You do not control it, you cooperate with it. You do not fear losing it, you rejoice in its eternal flow. For as long as divine mind exists, the river of supply will never run dry. You are not separate from that river. You are the river. You are the current through which divine wealth moves. And as you honor that truth, your financial life begins to transform, not slowly, but immediately, because consciousness always precedes condition. Money is divine. And when you finally see it as sacred, it will start treating you the same way, faithfully, generously, eternally. There comes a sacred moment in every believer's journey when words are no longer just words, they become living power. That moment is the hour of alignment, when everything you've spoken in faith, everything you've imagined in secret, begins to crystallize into form. This is not the hour of chance. It is the hour of divine fulfillment. The invisible and the visible meet, heaven and earth shake hands, and what was once whispered in silence begins to take shape before your eyes. Florence Scovel Shinn called this the crossing point, the moment when your vibration finally matches your vision. Nothing about it is accidental. You have prepared your consciousness, guarded your words, and walked in faith before evidence. You have honored secrecy, blessed your money, and aligned your inner world with divine truth. Now, the universe begins to mirror your inner state. The energy that was once invisible starts rearranging people, timing, and circumstances in perfect order. The hour of alignment is not about waiting, it's about becoming. Manifestation does not chase you, it reflects you. You cannot receive what you have not yet become in spirit. When you speak the 7 words, under grace, in perfect divine order now, you are not merely affirming a wish, you are declaring identity. You are saying, I am one with the divine law that governs my abundance. Alignment means agreement. Your thoughts, emotions, and energy all say, yes, in unison. Most people live in misalignment. Their lips say one thing, but their hearts believe another. They say, I am rich, while worrying about lack. They say, I am blessed, while resenting others' blessings. But the law cannot respond to contradiction. It responds only to harmony. The divine hears not your words, but your vibration. And when your vibration sings in tune with faith, creation cannot resist you. Florence often said, "Faith without works is dead," but she didn't mean physical effort. She meant energetic action. The work of faith is alignment. It's holding your inner atmosphere, steady even when appearances contradict it. It's choosing peace when logic screams panic. It's smiling at the unseen because you know the unseen is realer than the visible. That is true spiritual discipline, to remain unmoved until the law fulfills itself. In this sacred hour, your task is simple: remain aligned. The law is already in motion. The moment you declared your 7 words, the divine blueprint was activated. The energy of grace began arranging all things in your favor. The only thing that can delay your manifestation now is resistance, worry, impatience, or disbelief. So, your work is to stay in peace, to let the vibration of faith remain uninterrupted. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, feel the divine current flowing through you. Whisper within, "I am aligned with the frequency of my blessing. I am under grace, in perfect divine order now." Feel how those words hum like music in your chest. The more you repeat them, the more your energy synchronizes with the divine rhythm. You become still, receptive, magnetic. You no longer chase, you radiate. You no longer ask, you know. Alignment feels like peace. It feels like calm assurance. It feels like that quiet joy that comes before the miracle arrives. Because, deep down, you already sense it's on its way. Florence described it as spiritual poise, the ability to stand firm in the invisible, untouched by appearances. When you reach this state, the outer world bends to match your inner conviction. Imagine a tuning fork. When it vibrates, anything around it that shares its frequency begins to vibrate too. Your mind works the same way. When you hold the vibration of divine certainty, everything that matches it begins to move toward you. Opportunities, people, and even numbers align with your energy. That's why lottery winners often say, "I just knew." That knowing is alignment. It is the invisible yes that precedes the visible reward. In this hour, you must let go of time. The divine does not operate on clocks. It operates on readiness. The moment your vibration is stable in faith, manifestation rushes to meet you. The when is not your concern. Your only responsibility is the what and the who. What you believe and who you are being. When those are aligned with grace, the rest unfolds with mathematical precision. Say softly in your heart, "I am not waiting for my miracle, I am walking in it." The universe is aligning every atom, every number, every person to fulfill divine order. I am calm. I am ready. I am in perfect harmony. Let the words echo in you until they dissolve all tension. You will notice something begin to shift, a lightness in your chest, a quiet knowing in your mind, a warmth behind your ribs. That is alignment anchoring itself. The divine law is now active through you. Florence would tell her students, "Man's word is his wand, and he must keep it charged with faith." That is what you have done. You have charged your silent words with unshakable belief. You have walked the path of grace from thought to form. And now, all that remains is the stillness of faith. During this sacred hour, imagine your energy glowing like a sphere of golden light. Each repetition of the 7 words strengthens its brilliance. Under grace, see your protection. In perfect divine order, see your pattern. Now, see your manifestation. Each word is a command, each breath a signal to the universe that you are ready. The divine responds to readiness with speed. You do not need to visualize constantly or force emotions. You simply need to rest in alignment. The moment you stop struggling, the current carries you. Alignment is surrender, not struggle. It is allowing the divine to finish what you began in faith. It is trusting that what you have decreed in silence is already making its way toward you in visible form. Every doubt you release clears the path. Every moment of gratitude quickens the timing. Every calm breath keeps you tuned to divine frequency. And soon, the outer manifestation will appear, not by luck, not by effort, but by law. It will seem miraculous to others, but to you, it will feel natural. Because manifestation always feels natural when it is aligned. The miracle will not shock you. It will feel like remembering something you always knew was coming. So, as you sit in this sacred stillness, speak once more within your heart, I am under grace. Everything in my life unfolds in perfect divine order, and it happens now. Let the silence after those words be your offering of trust. The law is working. The universe has heard. The energy has aligned. What was once unseen is now inevitable. Stay in alignment, beloved soul. Keep your vibration pure, your heart thankful, and your mind still. For in this very hour, the divine blueprint is unfolding. The doors are opening. The numbers are aligning. The blessing is finding its way home, to you through you, and for you, under grace, in perfect divine order now. Beloved, the word has been spoken. The seed has been planted in silence. The law has been set in motion. Heaven has heard you, and divine order has already begun its perfect work. You have declared your truth in secret, and now the universe bends to fulfill it, gracefully, harmoniously, without delay. You stand now in the radiant field of your answered prayer. The vibration you carry has called forth every door that must open, every person that must appear, every blessing that must unfold. There is nothing left to chase, nothing left to fear. The divine mind knows your name, your number, your need. The law never forgets a decree once spoken in faith. Take a deep breath and whisper once more, with full knowing under grace, in perfect divine order now. Let the words rest in your heart like sacred light. You are no longer the one who hopes. You are the one who has become. The supply has already been released. The path has already been prepared. The miracle is no longer on its way. It is here, moving from the invisible to the visible in perfect rhythm. Say silently, I am open. I am ready. I am receptive. I am one with divine supply. Feel the peace that follows. Feel how the air itself responds to your vibration. That calm assurance you feel is not imagination. It is confirmation. It is the sign that heaven has already answered. Now, bless your life as it is and as it is becoming. Bless your money, for it is holy. Bless your desires, for they are divine. Bless your silence, for it has spoken louder than sound. Everything you have decreed will come to pass, under grace, in perfect divine order now, and so it is.
There are words that do not merely fall upon the ear. They strike the invisible chords of life itself. They are not words of persuasion, nor are they words of demand. They are keys fashioned in the unseen, waiting for the one who dares to speak them with conviction. You have walked long paths seeking opportunity, yearning for doors to open, yet many times you have knocked and heard only silence. But the silence was not denial. It was a preparation for the moment when you would discover that the true door is never without, but always within. Life is governed by exact law, precise as mathematics and vibrant as music. Every word is a seed, and every seed must bear fruit after its own kind. Speak words of fear, and fear multiplies. Speak words of lack, and lack grows bold. Yet speak words of power, and power rushes to obey. This is why the careless tongue binds itself in chains, while the awakened tongue opens palaces of promise. The secret lies not in effort, not in striving, not in anxious pushing against locked gates, but in uttering the sound that creation itself recognizes. There are 3 exact words that open any door. They are not what the world imagines. They are not cloaked in mystery, nor hidden in foreign scripts. They wait in plain sight, yet remain veiled until one is ready to wield them with unwavering faith. These words, when spoken, align you with the infinite source that knows no obstacle, no limitation, no impossibility. They carry the current of divine order, which rearranges circumstances, moves hearts, and places before you the very thing you thought was beyond reach. Consider the locked door you face now. Perhaps it is the door of love long delayed. Perhaps it is the door of health, where shadows have lingered. Perhaps it is the door of prosperity, which seems to open for others while remaining shut before you. Yet the moment you take these words upon your lips, not as a plea, not as a question, but as a decree, the door cannot help but yield. For law responds not to the wavering heart, but to the voice of certainty. The outer world bends to the inner word. Life does not resist you, it reflects you. Doors are not closed because you are unworthy. They are closed because you have not yet spoken the language of opening. Speak these words with full assurance, and you will discover that doors dissolve, barriers vanish, and the way is made clear. What you once thought required years of labor may fall into place in an instant, because spirit wastes no time when truth is spoken. The 3 words are the key, but the key works only when turned with faith. You must feel the reality before the door swings wide. You must stand in the inner chamber of answered prayer before the latch clicks open. Then, without effort, without struggle, you walk forward, not as a beggar asking admission, but as one who belongs. For the words that open any door are not only magic, they are law fulfilled. Every word is a seed, and it must bear fruit after its kind. This truth is eternal and cannot be escaped. For the universe itself is a garden of spoken power. In the beginning, before form was shaped and matter arranged, the word was already at work. Sound became substance, vibration became visible, thought clothed itself in matter, and the invisible wove itself into the tangible. That same law of creation rests upon every human tongue, for the words you speak are not idle noises. They are living seeds that descend into the soil of the unseen, waiting for the season when they must spring forth. Whether you know it or not, every utterance you release carries a destiny, and that destiny must return to you multiplied. When one truly awakens to this law, carelessness with speech vanishes. No longer can you afford to fling words of doubt, fear, or complaint into the atmosphere, for they do not vanish into the wind. They take root. They anchor themselves in the fertile field of life, and in due time, they return as a harvest. The person who wonders why troubles multiply must listen to their own speech, for it is often a garden thick with weeds. The one who constantly declares, "I cannot," "I lack," "I fear," or "I fail," has unknowingly planted seeds of those very things, and the harvest comes faithfully, as all harvests do. Life is not cruel, it is exact. It gives back only what was sown, nothing less and nothing more. Yet the same law that appears harsh is in fact the key to freedom, because once you understand it, you can plant differently. You can uproot the thorns with new decrees. You can scatter seeds of joy, prosperity, health, and triumph. Speak abundance, and abundance has no choice but to come. Declare harmony, and harmony must reveal itself. Announce victory, and victory aligns itself with you. Words are never powerless, they are the blueprint of your world. To speak is to command substance into order. To declare is to draw the invisible into shape. Imagine a farmer standing before his field. If he sows thistles, he will not expect roses. If he scatters pebbles, he will not expect wheat. He knows that the seed decides the harvest. In the same way, the wise soul understands that words spoken today are crops tomorrow. The careless farmer blames the weather, blames the soil, blames the season. Yet his trouble began with what he sowed. So it is with the careless speaker, who blames fate, chance, or circumstance. Yet the true cause is always the spoken word. Every word is creative. Even the smallest muttered phrase carries the vibration of command. This is why ancient teachers warned that every idle word would be accounted for, not as punishment, but as law fulfilled. Words cannot dissolve into nothingness, they continue to create long after they have left the lips. They travel like arrows, unseen but unfailing, striking their target, producing their result. How vital then to speak only that which uplifts, strengthens, multiplies good, and calls forth light from every shadow. Consider the one who constantly rehearses misfortune, telling the same story of loss, betrayal, and failure to anyone who will listen. Each retelling is a new planting, each word a fresh scattering of bitter seeds, and the ground responds with more of the same. Another, however, speaks differently. Even in difficulty, their words lean toward promise. They affirm that good is coming, that doors are opening, that strength is rising, that all things are working together in their favor. Though the outer evidence seems contrary, their speech sows new seed, and in time the harvest overtakes them. What you say about yourself and your world is the prophecy you write into your future. Every word is a seed, and some seeds grow quickly while others take time. The moment you speak, you set in motion currents that gather substance to themselves. Some results appear at once, others unfold slowly, like a tree pushing its roots deep before stretching skyward. The impatient soul says, "My words do nothing." But the law does not fail. Delay is not denial, it is simply the unseen root system preparing to bear lasting fruit. Every word finds its season, and when the season comes, the harvest is exact. You do not plant fear and reap peace. You do not plant anger and reap love. You do not plant lack and reap abundance. You reap after your own kind, for the seed cannot deny itself. This is why discipline of speech is discipline of destiny. The one who governs their tongue governs their life. The one who fills their mouth with words of truth, power, beauty, and assurance writes a future radiant with those very qualities. The harvest is never a mystery to the one who knows what they planted. Your tongue is not a trivial tool, it is the sower of eternity. Speak as though every word must rise again before you, for it surely will. When you declare blessing, you walk into blessing. When you declare peace, you walk into peace. When you declare strength, you walk into strength. Every declaration is a seed sown into the invisible garden of tomorrow. Those who grasp this law cease to waste speech. They do not indulge in idle complaints, sharp criticisms, or careless prophecies of disaster, because they know each word is a living force. Instead, they fill their language with affirmations of truth, decrees of good, and praises for the unseen supply already at hand. Even silence is a kind of planting, for it restrains the weeds of negativity from sprouting. But when silence is broken, let it be broken with deliberate power. Do not let words slip from your lips unguarded, for they will not return empty. Every phrase must be chosen as carefully as seed in the hand of a sower. The wise one does not scatter thorns in their own field. The wise one places only the seed they wish to harvest. This is the mystery unveiled. Every word is a seed, and it must bear fruit after its kind. The soil of life cannot deny the seed, nor can the harvest refuse the planter. If your present world is filled with unwanted growth, know that it is but the echo of yesterday's planting, and today you hold the power to sow anew. Each phrase, each declaration, each whisper spoken with intent carries the power of creation. It may be a seed of despair or a seed of hope, a seed of bondage or a seed of freedom, but whatever it is, it must rise, it must grow, it must yield its harvest. Speak, then, with holy care, for you are planting the garden in which you must walk. Doors are not closed by fate, but by the absence of the right decree. To most, life appears as a sequence of locked gates and guarded passages, where fortune grants entry to a few while withholding from the many. Yet the universe is impartial, it is never a tyrant, never an unjust keeper of treasures. Every closed door is not a verdict against you, but a call for the precise word that will release the latch. There is no accident in opportunity, no chance in advancement. Law rules all things, and the law is ever ready to answer the decree spoken with authority and faith. Many live believing that destiny has favored others more generously. They look upon the prosperity of another and sigh, "It was meant for them, not for me." They gaze upon love blooming in another's path and resign themselves, saying, "It was not in my fate." They watch health restore itself to another and declare, "It is their fortune, not mine." Such words seal their own doors, for they accept as final what is only temporary. Fate is not the jailer, it is the echo of one's decrees. If the decree is absent, the door remains closed not by design of the divine, but by the silence of the soul. The decree is the key, and keys must be used. No door swings open to one who only waits and wonders. The door yields when the voice within proclaims its opening. Words are not mere expressions of hope, they are commands to law. When the decree is spoken, unseen forces arrange themselves to obey. Circumstances shift, people appear, paths clear, timing adjusts, and what seemed immovable begins to yield. It is not because chance has favored you, but because law has been given the exact command to act. Consider the house filled with many rooms. The owner holds the keys to each, yet chooses to stand outside one door, lamenting its closure, forgetting the key in their hand. So it is with the soul who complains of limitation while possessing the authority of decree. The law waits upon the spoken word, for it cannot act without command. Silence leaves the latch untouched. Complaint rattles the handle but does not open it. Only the decree, firm and unwavering, causes the hinges to turn. The decree must be exact, for vague speech wields little power. To mutter, "Perhaps one day I will succeed," is no decree but a shadow of longing. To sigh, "If it is meant to be, it will come," is no decree, but a resignation to drift. The decree is precise, sharp as the stroke of a chisel, unambiguous and filled with certainty. It declares, "This door opens now." It does not plead, it does not question, it does not shrink. It commands. In that command is the authority that life itself recognizes, for life was built to obey the word. Doors do not resist you out of cruelty. They mirror your decree. If you declare lack, the door of abundance remains closed. If you declare weakness, the door of strength remains sealed. If you declare delay, the door of fulfillment stays beyond reach. Yet the moment you decree otherwise, the lock must turn. The decree does not beg, for begging is the language of one who believes the door belongs to another. The decree is the language of ownership, the voice of the heir who knows that every door was fashioned for their use. Think of the times you spoke with unshakable conviction, when no doubt clouded your tone. Perhaps you said, "I will finish this," and it was finished. Perhaps you declared, "I will overcome this," and the way opened. That certainty was not wishful thinking, it was decree. Every time you spoke with such authority, the door yielded, whether you recognized the law at work or not. Imagine what life becomes when every word is spoken with that level of certainty. When every door is approached not as a barrier, but as a structure awaiting the sound of your decree. The absence of decree creates delay, and delay is often mistaken for denial. When nothing seems to move, one assumes the door is closed forever. Yet the truth is simpler. The decree has not been spoken with precision. Many speak once, half-heartedly, then fall silent when the door does not fly open at once. They do not realize that the decree is not a whisper, but a continual affirmation of authority, pressed into the unseen until it becomes seen. The door does not ignore you, it awaits your full command. Every closed door teaches the soul the value of speech. If doors flew open without decree, humanity would never learn the sacredness of words. It is the very resistance of the locked gate that awakens the realization your word is the key. When you finally speak with clarity, with unwavering assurance, the door opens, not because it chose to, but because law requires it. The door has no will of its own. It is motionless until touched by the decree. The decree must come from alignment with the heart, not mere repetition of phrases. Empty words do not carry the current of power. But when the decree arises from the deep knowing that the door was never meant to keep you out, it gathers a force that cannot be denied. This force does not shout or strain, it is calm, certain, absolute. Even whispered, it carries weight, because authority is not in volume but in conviction. The decree spoken with true faith shakes the unseen and compels the seen to obey. Picture the soul standing before a locked treasure room. Years of longing have produced nothing but exhaustion. Yet the moment they realize the key is in their decree, everything shifts. They no longer wait for someone else to hand them the key. They no longer curse the door or pity themselves. They open their mouth and declare, "This door opens to me now." The vibration of that decree strikes the lock, and in perfect order, the door yields. This is not chance, not fortune, not luck, but law. The decree was spoken and law obeyed. So it is with every situation that appears closed. No fate has decreed your exclusion. No destiny has barred your entrance. The decree was simply absent. When it is present, the impossible dissolves. When it is spoken, the gate swings wide. The soul learns that life is not a labyrinth of denial, but a field of doors awaiting the right command. And the command is always within your reach, waiting to be spoken with faith and precision. The outer world bends to the inner word. Life is not first shaped by circumstances, nor by the actions of others, nor even by the rise and fall of fortune. It is shaped by the sound that flows from within, the declaration spoken in faith or in fear, the inner decree that becomes outer manifestation. What surrounds you is but a reflection of what you have uttered, whether consciously or unconsciously. The visible bows before the invisible, and the invisible takes its instruction from your word. Every condition that seems so solid, every event that appears so immovable, is in truth pliable, bending and rearranging itself according to the tone of your speech. The power of the inner word is not measured by volume, but by conviction. A whisper of certainty outweighs 1,000 cries of doubt. The world outside listens not to the noise of your lips, but to the authority of your inner decree. You may speak outwardly, yet if your heart denies the words, they fall lifeless. You may utter softly within, yet if belief floods those words, the outer world must yield. The law of creation is precisely the outer must conform to the inner, as shadow conforms to substance. What you hold and declare inwardly is the mold into which outer circumstances must flow. Look at the life you live today. Every event, every relationship, every condition bears the fingerprint of words once spoken. If you see lack, you will find words of lack in your past. If you see confusion, you will find words of uncertainty. If you see harmony, you will find words of peace and alignment. The outer is a mirror, never a master. It has no will of its own, no power to resist, no ability to create independently. It only reflects. To wrestle with outer events is like striking at shadows on a wall. To change the outer, one must speak anew within. For the shadow always bends to the form that casts it. The soul that has not learned this law spends its days in endless struggle, pushing against doors, battling obstacles, fearing resistance. They exhaust themselves in the arena of appearances, never realizing that the battlefield is within. But the one who knows that the outer bends to the inner word does not waste strength in outer conflict. They retire inward, speak the decree with faith, and then step outward to find the world already shifting in response. The unseen does the heavy lifting. The seen merely carries out what has already been ordered. Consider the seed once more. The farmer does not command the soil by force of arms. He does not plead with the earth to yield its crop. He places the seed within, and the soil responds by bringing forth the plant. So it is with the word. You do not command the world by wrestling it into place. You sow your word inwardly, and the outer ground bends to it, producing a harvest in due time. This is not struggle but law. It is not chance but certainty. The outer world is pliable, though it appears rigid. Like molten metal, it waits for the mold of your decree. If the decree is filled with fear, the metal hardens into chains. If the decree is filled with love, the metal hardens into blessings. If the decree is filled with lack, the metal hardens into limitation. Yet if the decree is filled with abundance, strength and joy, the metal hardens into doors opening and paths clearing. The mold is always set by the word, and the world must take the shape it is given. Many cry, I will believe it when I see it. But the law is reversed. You will see it when you decree it. Sight follows word, not the other way. Faith speaks first, then the outer bends. To demand evidence before decree is to put the shadow before the light. Nothing can appear outwardly that has not first been accepted inwardly. The decree is always the seed, and the harvest cannot come before planting. Think of those moments when you shifted inwardly and everything outside followed. Perhaps you once feared a situation, then declared inwardly, I am safe, I am guided, I am protected. Soon what seemed dangerous dissolved, and safety surrounded you. Perhaps you once faced lack, then declared, all that I need is here and now provided. Shortly after, provision flowed in unexpected ways. These were not coincidences. They were proofs of the law that the outer bends to the inner word. This law works impartially, whether for good or for ill. If you decree worry, the world obliges with circumstances to match. If you decree anger, the world supplies reasons to sustain it. If you decree joy, the world provides events to affirm it. The decree comes first, the evidence later. Many live in circles of frustration because they continue to decree the same conditions they wish to escape. They repeat, nothing ever changes. Doors are closed, I am always left behind. And the world, obedient servant that it is, arranges itself to reflect those very statements. Yet the moment one dares to declare otherwise, the circle breaks, and the world begins to bend in a new direction. It is not necessary to understand how the bending takes place. The farmer does not watch the seed in the soil, demanding to know each detail of its unfolding. He trusts the law of growth. In the same way, you do not need to trace each thread of how the decree becomes visible. The law is certain, and the outer must comply. Your part is to decree with unwavering faith, and the bending is assured. When you walk through life, remember that nothing is fixed until you decree it so. No condition is final, no circumstance immovable, unless you seal it with your word. Speak against yourself, and you bind yourself. Speak for yourself, and you release yourself. The power is never in the outer appearance, but in the inner decree. Even the most stubborn wall must crumble, even the darkest path must light up when the decree is spoken with faith. For the outer is not master, it is servant, and the servant must bend to the word of the master within. The key works only when turned with faith. A key lying idle in the palm is no different from a stone. Its power is hidden until it is placed into the lock, turned with certainty, and used as it was designed to be used. Words themselves are keys, but without faith they remain cold metal, lifeless symbols, unable to open the doors of life. Faith is the hand that turns, the motion that activates, the energy that compels the lock to yield. Without it, the decree is empty sound. With it, the decree is irresistible power. Faith is not wishful thinking. It is not hoping that perhaps something might occur if fortune is kind. Faith is knowing, beyond doubt, that the invisible is already real, that the word spoken has already secured its fulfillment. It is the quiet certainty that when the key is turned, the door must open. The soul that speaks without faith is like one who taps lightly at a lock, fearing it will never move, and so it remains closed. The one who speaks with faith grips firmly, turns decisively, and the mechanism responds at once. This is why two people may speak the same words, yet one sees results while the other sees nothing. The difference is not in the phrase, but in the faith. One repeats a formula, hoping vaguely for change, while the other declares with unshakable assurance. The law does not respond to idle utterance, it responds to conviction. The universe bends to the voice of one who knows, not to the murmur of one who doubts. The key only works when turned with faith. Faith is the invisible current that charges the word with life. It is the electricity that flows through the wire, the wind that fills the sails, the fire that brings warmth to the hearth. Without it, the forms remain but the force is absent. Words are shells without faith, but filled with faith they are living vessels, carrying the power of creation itself. A decree of fear has faith in failure. A decree of love has faith in good. Faith always exists, it is only a matter of where it is placed. To place faith in obstacles is to empower them. To place faith in possibility is to release it. The inner posture matters more than the outward effort. One may speak loudly, passionately, endlessly. Yet if doubt is seated in the heart, the lock resists. Another may speak but once, softly, quietly, yet with absolute conviction, and the door swings wide. Faith is the unseen lever. It does not strain, it does not push, it does not plead, it simply knows. It knows that law never fails, that the decree always returns, that the word always accomplishes. When spoken in this knowing, the key is turned fully, and the way is opened. Faith does not wait for evidence before it believes. It does not demand signs before it acts. It speaks first, and the evidence follows. To say, "I will believe it when I see it," is to hold the key in hand but never place it in the lock. To say, "I see it within, therefore I decree it," is to turn the key in faith, and the door must respond. Every answered prayer, every open path, every manifested blessing is born not from wish but from faith. The mind may argue, presenting evidence of closed doors, recounting failures of the past, insisting on the weight of present circumstances. But faith does not bow to appearances. It speaks from a higher law, declaring what must be despite what seems to be. The lock may appear rusted, the door may look sealed. But faith knows that the design of the key is perfect, and that no lock can resist its turning. The key is made for the door, and the door for the key. And faith is the movement that unites them. Those who lack faith often believe they are waiting for divine permission, for destiny to align, for external approval. Yet the law waits only for their decree spoken in faith. It does not delay, it does not withhold. The delay is only in the wavering heart, in the hand that trembles at the lock, in the voice that speaks without conviction. The moment faith is present, the lock yields. The moment faith turns the key, the door opens. Faith is not force, it is not struggle, it is not shouting louder, nor repeating endlessly. It is rest in certainty. It is the calm assurance of one who knows the outcome before it appears. The one who believes presses the key into the lock without fear, without hesitation, without doubt. They do not demand to see the mechanism working. They trust that the design is flawless. They simply turn, and the door yields. So it is with the word spoken in faith. It does not analyze how the unseen rearranges itself. It does not demand to witness every step of the process. It simply knows the law works, and therefore it rests in assurance until the result is visible. The key works only when turned with faith, because faith activates alignment. It aligns the inner word with the outer world. Without it, there is division, lips saying one thing, heart believing another. With faith, there is unity. The whole being speaking in harmony, thought and word and belief moving as one. This unity creates power that the universe cannot resist. Faith is the signature of authority upon the decree, the seal that validates the command, the force that compels the outer to obey the inner. Imagine the weary soul standing before the same door day after day, declaring weakly, perhaps it will open, perhaps it will not. Nothing moves. Yet the moment they lift their voice in certainty, this door opens now. With faith gripping the words, the atmosphere shifts. The unseen begins to rearrange, the mechanism of life turns, and the door swings wide. It was not the words alone that carried the power. It was the faith that filled them. Faith is the difference between echo and command. Without it, the words echo into emptiness. With it, the words command substance itself. Faith is the unseen hand that turns the key, and when it turns, no door can resist. You do not beg before life. You command as one who belongs. The universe is not a distant throne, before which you must crawl on your knees, pleading for scraps of favor. It is a boundless field of law, precise and exact, awaiting your word. You were never designed to live as a supplicant, trembling before the mysteries of existence. You were designed as an heir, a rightful owner, one who stands upright and declares with authority. Life is not moved by begging, for begging is the language of uncertainty. Life is moved by decree spoken with assurance, by the word of one who knows their place as part of the infinite order. Begging assumes separation. It assumes that the good you desire lies outside of you, held by a reluctant giver who may or may not grant it. It paints life as a stern ruler, withholding its treasures until you prove worthy through groaning and pleading. But law does not respond to groans. Law responds to precision. The moment you shift from pleading to declaring, you step into your true authority. The decree aligns you with life's order, and life yields. Not reluctantly, but instantly, because it must obey the rightful command of one who speaks as owner, not as beggar. Every moment of begging is a denial of your inheritance. To say, "Please give me," is to confess that you do not yet have. But to declare, "It is mine now," is to step into possession. The universe mirrors that stance. If you announce lack, lack remains. If you announce fullness, fullness manifests. The beggar remains outside the door, while the heir walks through without resistance. For the heir does not question their right of entry. They know the house is theirs. They know the table was set for them. They do not ask for a place. They take their seat. The command is not arrogance. It is alignment. To command as one who belongs is to recognize the truth. All that you seek already exists in the unseen, and it is part of your rightful inheritance as a soul in harmony with divine law. You do not wrestle for it, you do not steal it, you do not trick life into yielding it. You call it forth because it is already yours. The command is a recognition, not a theft. It is the language of belonging, not intrusion. Begging weakens the spirit. It rehearses unworthiness. It trains the mind to see itself as small, powerless, undeserving. The more one begs, the more one convinces themselves that they are separate from what they seek. The more they cry out for what is already theirs, the more they push it away with their own words. The universe does not respond to pity, it responds to law. The one who commands with certainty moves law into action. The one who begs circles endlessly, waiting for a gate that never opens because they never took the authority to open it. Think of a child in their own home. They do not beg to open the refrigerator. They do not plead for the right to sit at the family table. They walk in as one who belongs. Their belonging is understood, and the house responds to their presence. So it is with you and the universe. You are not an intruder in creation. You are part of it, made in its image, equipped with its language of decree. To act as a beggar is to forget your birthright. To act as one who commands is to remember who you are. The command is not forceful. It does not need to shout, nor rage, nor pound its fists. True authority is calm. It speaks once, knowing it is enough. The general does not plead with the soldier, he issues the order. The law does not beg the citizen, it declares the rule. The sun does not request permission to rise, it simply shines. In the same way, the command of one who belongs is steady, clear, unwavering. It does not apologize for existing. It does not tremble before resistance. It declares, and the declaration shapes reality. There is no arrogance in this stance, for arrogance is a mask of insecurity. The true command is humble, yet absolute. It does not need to prove itself, for it knows its authority is inherent. When you speak as one who belongs, you do not elevate yourself above others, nor diminish them. You simply stand in your rightful place, knowing that the universe has enough for all, and that your command does not rob another, but calls forth what is already abundant and infinite. Every condition in life waits for your word. If you speak as a beggar, conditions remain unmoved, because the beggar has already declared their powerlessness. But if you speak as one who commands, conditions rearrange themselves, because the command carries the energy of truth. You were never meant to crawl before life, but to co-create with it. The law of creation is not external to you, it flows through you, activated by your word. To command as one who belongs is to recognize that the doors of life do not open out of charity, they open out of law. Just as gravity does not grant its pull to some and deny it to others, the laws of creation do not withhold. They respond to authority. And authority is not granted to a select few. It is inherent in all. The only difference lies in whether one dares to claim it. Those who beg never touch their authority, while those who command awaken it fully. Think of the times you shifted from pleading to certainty. Perhaps you once begged for peace, only to remain restless. But the day you declared, "I am at peace now," the stillness descended. Perhaps you once begged for provision, only to feel need grow heavier. But the moment you declared, "My supply is here," doors opened, opportunities appeared, and provision flowed. These moments were not accidents. They were evidence of the truth. Begging delays, command delivers. The outer world recognizes tone more than language. The words, "please," and "I have," may differ in sound, but the vibration behind them tells the universe what to mirror. A tone of begging produces more reasons to beg. A tone of command produces fulfillment. The law cannot mistake tone, for it responds not to the surface of words, but to the depth of conviction. When you speak as one who belongs, your tone carries authority, and the world bends. The beggar's eyes are fixed on the closed door. The hare's eyes are fixed on their rightful inheritance beyond it. The beggar waits for permission. The hare knows no permission is needed. The beggar questions, "Am I worthy?" The hare declares, "This is mine." The difference is not in the door, but in the stance. One sees themselves as outside, the other as within, and life, ever obedient, reflects whichever role is chosen. You do not beg before life, you command as one who belongs. This is the true position of power, the rightful place of every soul. The stance that unlocks doors, summons abundance, restores health, and calls forth harmony. It is not arrogance, it is law. It is not presumption. It is truth. To speak as one who belongs is to align with the order of creation, and to live not as a stranger in the universe, but as its rightful heir.